Why it was,
Now we're recording.
okay.
We can
All
start.
right, we can start our meeting now. To do the pledge. Everybody standing? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Richard Hill, the president, is absent this evening, so I guess I'm running the meeting. Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Here.
Brad Decker.
Here.
Deborah Hendrickson. Here. Joe Taylor.
Yes, here. Sorry.
We have a quorum.
Okay, someone's gonna do the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Bless those that were affected by the storms and the flooding. And please be with Richard and his family to give guidance and comfort. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, any adjustments to the agenda?
Not that I'm aware of.
Everybody okay with it? All right, we'll look at the minutes.
Hold on a second. You may be looking at an old version.
I'm looking at an old version.
Conflict of interest is next.
Does yours have the conflict of interest on
It
it?
doesn't.
Mine don't either.
This one, it doesn't either on this.
Yeah, that's conflict of interest
Oh,
right
it
there.
is.
See, mine don't say
Up
that
here at the
either.
top.
We have an,
Okay, this is an old one.
So I don't have that.
Another thing. One for you.
And then this is trash.
Oh, yeah, right here, right
I
here.
get all my stuff electronically.
Okay, right here we go. So
All right.
we got two.
Conflict of interest.
We waste more time.
So we have a conflict of interest. Did you get it?
I have two of them, and I can read those in the record if you like.
Okay,
First one is a uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement from Deborah L. Hendrickson. Title of position is Town Council Member of the Town of Whiteland, Johnson County. This is an annual disclosure. And the name of the contractor is none, and the description of the contract is not applicable. And the description of my financial interest is I receive a monthly paycheck of $500, and I am married to Michael Hendrickson, who is a member of the Stormwater Management Board. And the disclosure in summary is just the fact that her spouse is appointed to the Stormwater Board and serves on that board. And we also, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and read the other one, and you can address them together. Is that okay?
So, don't you, Debbie? Address them both at once.
And the other is Michael Hendrickson. His position is on the Stormwater Board, as a member of the Stormwater Board. And it also is an annual disclosure. The contractor and the description are both not applicable. In this case, the description of the financial interest is that he is married to Deborah L. Hendrickson, who is a member of the Town Council and receives a quarterly paycheck of $225, which is on a per meeting basis, $75. And he's disclosing his relationship with Debbie as her spouse. And if these are acceptable, then a motion should be made to accept them.
I'll move to approve both conflict of interest forms. Second.
okay. Can we get a roll call?
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Decker.
Yes.
Deborah, Joe Taylor.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson.
I abstain.
That's 3-0 to 1 abstention.
Okay, we'll go to the minutes now. Does anyone have any adjustments or motions?
I had no questions. I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Brad, second by Tim, and roll call?
Tim Brown?
Yes.
Brad Joe Decker?
Yes.
Joe Taylor?
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson?
Yes. Voucher packet? Any questions? I have a question on the Gibson Insurance Company. So I see that, find it first. There's 3 different charges. One's for cyber security. The other one's payment 4 of 10. Yeah, payment 4 of 10. And the other one's the second half.
So the cybersecurity is a separate policy that's for
Right.
a different carrier, and so that's directly to that, for Gibson, but to the carrier. 4 of 10, we have 10 payments for the 12 months, so that's what that 4 of 10 is for the normal commercial, personal property liability, all of those insurance, policies that we have. And then the last one is we need, to have Gibson as the health insurance, employee benefits broker.
Okay,
It's for the, GIS benefits.
because it has liability insurance, so it should say health insurance.
Probably just the description of it.
I see the employee navigator. Health, so it's health. Okay. Anybody else?
I didn't have anything.
I don't have. That's all I have. So I'll make a motion to approve the voucher packet for 8/25/2025. Joe?
Oh, that was Brad, actually.
Oh, Brad, sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay. Brad made a motion. Joe Saylor, second. Roll call?
Tim Brown?
Yes.
Brad Joe Decker?
Yes.
Joe Saylor?
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson?
Yes.
Pass 4-0.
All right, next is financial reports.
In the general fund, there was 3 payrolls in March, so it's a little higher for the disbursement than normal. Then in the sewer improvement, it was higher for dispersed for the interstate lift stations. And then I have 2 general packets this month because one is for the Okra, which you guys approved that we could do, but I just want to have the voucher packet signed.
It's a separate voucher packet?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, and the interest and the bank, $26,992.38.
Okay, anybody else, anybody have any questions?
I also have Adams here to talk about,
Did we vote on
the
that voucher?
software. Thanks.
Was there a second voucher
Software.
to be voted in?
Well, our
We haven't voted on
Oh,
it.
affiliations and
Let's
everything.
talk about it now.
I said the wrong word.
Debbie.
Debbie, did we need to vote on that voucher, that second voucher packet yet?
we haven't,
Yes.
I didn't think we
so
did.
we need to.
It-
Okay, I'm sorry, Adam. So I didn't know there was a second voucher packet, so we need to vote on that separately, or,
No, We had already discussed it previously, because we had.
Last meeting.
Within 10 days.
That was for the Okra. the
Okay.
comprehensive-
Yeah, so we already okayed that.
Previously approved?
Yes,
Yes.
You guys approved it as a second voucher packet at last month's meeting.
Okay.
all right. Go ahead, Adam, sorry.
No worries, no worries. Good evening, it's good to see everybody. I am here to provide a status of task with respect to the reconciliation effort and reporting in general. I understand you all have a copy of this. If you need an extra one, I've got it, put it out here. Really at a high level, there's approximately about 150 different bank reconciliations that need to be completed through 2024. As of tonight, right now, we have physically completed all 150 of those, and I believe all but 12 are actually posted in the accounting system for 2024. So by the end of today, our goal is to have everything in Keystone accounting system for the town, and we will all gladly be ready to close out 2024. And we have our team already working on 2025 as well. The North Star here, what sharing this with council, just so you can hold everybody accountable. The really best practice would be that the books are closed and reconciled and the reports are distributed to departments and the council by about the 21st day of the month. So for example, by April 21st, we really want to be closed out, fully adjusted for all banks and funds due to the end of March. Some months that's a little harder than others, just between different banks, financial institutions, believe it or not, aren't that actually timely with their statements. So there are some kind of give and take, but certainly within, an order of magnitude of a few days of that date. So staff's been great. We're all working to try to get to that point. And in Keystone, one of the dependencies to being able to close the year and roll to the new fiscal year in the system is you have to have all the reconciliations done.
Right.
So we're hoping to check that box by the end of this evening. And then there's a few loose end items we have to do in order to roll that. And that'll give us all an opportunity to start reviewing 2025 numbers. And then we'll be assisting on a monthly basis going forward to make sure that 2025 stays current. We have a couple more months there to get caught up. And then going forward, it'll just be normal monthly process. And then, so that's an update on that. I'm very fortunate that we're towards the end of the tunnel there. Once we get 2025 caught up, we are, a long way away from being smooth sailing. There was such a backlog there, we have not been able to really focus on any sort of process component and efficiency. So as we get more caught up, we can start looking at that to see if there's ways we can make it easier, fix postings, those types of things. And that's just gonna be an education and training with staff and on our side as well. So the 2025 reports, I would just encourage you, it's gonna take everybody to kind of spot irregularities. The principle that we're working towards is we just really want consistency in posting, and then we can fix a lot of the budget and allocation of resources over time as we're consistent with where the actual is posted. So we're gonna really try to focus on that over the next quarter or two. Capital improvement plan, we have worked through the town's capital improvement plan, outlines over $103 million worth of priority projects. We've worked through that list. We have about a 5-year financial plan drafted, and the sheriff drafted that on Thursday of this week. The capital asset policy for the 2024 annual report, that has been done and completed, submitted to the state. We have the policy for council's future agenda recommendation to the town, so I would see that as a subsequent item. That's just a policy that outlines the useful lives, capitalization, et cetera. So the next couple weeks and months, what we're gonna be working on is really making sure that 2024, the next day or two, we close that out, really start to scrutinize the 2025 numbers. We publish our first 2025 quarterly spend plan with the first quarter results of 2025. We'll share that independently to this body as well to make sure you have our take on sort of the current Q1 actuals, budget, as well as a forecast for the year. We're all finishing up with Westler Engineering, the asset management plan and the financial sections for the upcoming wastewater package. As we get into a little bit of a spot here before the 2026 budget initiates as well, we'd like to initiate a conversation with council and the town with respect to depreciation funds for the utilities, just to make sure they have adequate reserves building up systematically, as well as we want to make sure we have a good understanding of kind of accounting practices and policies the town is using, so there's good internal controls. And then most recently, we'll be providing some feedback on future software endeavors that the town may look to add to their capital improvement plan to sort of, improve or extend or replace the existing systems that they're using. So that's sort of a status of task. And then more broadly, legislative, General Assembly, there's a variety of different bills. There was actions yesterday that kind of amended some of these. Largely that's been discussed as Senate Bill 1. I know town manager has provided some impacts and memos on that as well. One of the things that we are doing is we've got a list of about 15 or 20 different sort of responses to those. So I'm not a big believer in sort of speculating on what finally going to be enacted, but we can monitor those, and then once they get enacted later this month, understand those new state laws, implications, and then most importantly, respond. There's some home rule options that come out of those. There are some options that the state has taken away from us that we all need to just kind of build into our playbook and make sure we understand going forward. One quick example, the town has benefited from growth appeals in the past. That is one of the items on the table to be completely removed going forward. So we want to make sure we just understand that, and we understand in a community such as Whiteland that's growing and has essential services it needs to fund, what are the 15 or 20 or more different new options. And it'll be our responsibility to come present those to you once the state laws have all been enacted, which is tentatively towards the end of this month. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions about what we've been working on, our team. And then otherwise we'll continue with the monthly written updates, and appreciate the opportunity to work with them.
Thanks, Adam.
Good night.
Thank you, Adam.
Okay, no special guests, apparently. And old business. Brightspeed, follow up on the proposal for work of the right-of-way.
I would count myself at this one. So
Oh,
you might call me. It's a little odd to be on this side.
I've already passed that up.
It's a little odd to be on this side of the podium to sit up where Stephen is. I think I know most of you, but for those that don't know me, Jacob Bowman, I'm with Williams here in Gorkowski. I work a lot of times with Stephen. My baby is the town of Trafalgar, so I do a lot of work down there and bringing them up to speed. One comment before I get going on the Brightspeed. We, the town of Trafalgar, as we switched to Gibson as our insurance broker as well, have had a very good experience with them thus far. So whoever made that decision or recommendation, I think that's a good step forward for the town of Whiteland. As Debbie had mentioned, here on an old business follow-up on Brightspeed bonding, I had drafted and dispatched a memo to the town council. All of you should have received a copy.
It says William Barrett.
I just want to provide some of the highlights to you.
What did I do with it?
This conversation with Brightspeed has been ongoing for several months at this point. I think they initially communicated with the town late last year. Their proposal at that time for, if I remember correctly, 300 more sites, more locations within the town right away. After speaking with them and addressing some of the concerns that bringing to light some of the town's concerns, it appears that Brightspeed has either pared down their project or has changed sort of the direction on how they're going to go about or how they're going about completing construction on the project. Right-of-way for locations slims down to 60. Why that's important is this town has ownership of right-of-way. It regulates it, it controls it. The town does not have ownership over drainage and utility easements. Therefore has less authority to regulate what goes on in those drainage and utility easements. And frankly, Brightspeed's directional board in this case and its project within drainage and utility easements, again, very little regulation. It being Brightspeed is subject only to the rights of other easement holders within that same easement. Through all this process, we've looked at the town's bond ordinance for use of its right-of-way. It was drafted in 2008. The figures in there require a $5,000 bond for each bore location or each excavation within the right-of-way at $5,000 for a period of 2 years. If you look to my recommendations on the last page of the memo, I highly recommend the updating of the ordinance to reflect current costs to be placed on the bonds and some other language specific to this type of project. To my knowledge, I understand that we haven't had this large right-of-way use project for the town. Again, to my knowledge. The ordinance should, in my opinion, incorporate some specifications for fiber optic installations and directional bores. The Indiana Department of Transportation has, in my opinion, a good guideline for its specifications on work within NDOT's right-of-way related specifically to directional boring and fiber optic installations. I understand that Carmen also has been contemplating additional items that she might want, recommend to be included within that ordinance, and she might be speaking on that.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
I'll have it.
So, not to spoil the surprise, I suppose. So, my first recommendation is to take a strong look at your right-of-way ordinance, make some modifications to it, update it to 2025. Because right now it sits back in 2008. The other part of my recommendation, well, I guess let me backtrack a little bit. Brightspeed did provide some additional information with respect to its insurance. Its insurance coverage has sufficient dollar policy limits to cover, in my opinion, any sort of damage that might occur to the town's property or any other property when performing their construction. Most importantly, Brightspeed did provide us with a copy of an endorsement which removes an exclusion for contractors and subcontractors' work, meaning if Brightspeed's contractor damages property, the insurance policy still applies. And that's something that is generally excluded from general liability policies for coverage. So Brightspeed has provided those two items to us, or the policy, as well as endorsement with the contractor exclusion. My recommendation is to either reduce the bond amount, noting that I think a $5,000 bond per bore location, if something happens at bore site A, $5,000 isn't going to cover anything in the first place. So something like a blanket bond of $25,000 or $50,000 would be my recommendation on all locations, noting that after inspection, if there's an issue, that issue's fixed prior to moving to the next location. Also with the insurance as the backup to any property damages above and beyond what the bond might allow. So with that, I take any questions. I don't know if Carmen has anything, any input to the belief that Brightspeed is here. And she is. So if the council wishes to hear from Brightspeed, obviously that's up to you.
So the The $3,500,000 policy is for how long?
It will cover the time period from which the injury takes place. So if Brightspeed goes out there next month, hits it, and we don't discover it for 2 years, it still covers that hit on our line, on our sewer, on our water. So
But a maintenance bond's 2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
the bond is, yeah.
yeah, the bond's 2 years.
Yeah, this could potentially cover longer than the bond, just the insurance covers longer than the bond.
You said potentially.
Well,
You've got a statute of limitations, but it doesn't start running until you know that something got broke. So you basically have however many years after you find out something got broke. So it could be
It's not a definite
period of time, because the statute of limitations doesn't start when the,
injury happens. It starts when you found out or should have found it out.
so it could be a long, long time down the road.
It's a floating end date based upon when you discover the injury.
So 7 years down the road, if you find a problem, then it starts at the 2 years then, correct?
I don't think 2 years is a statute of limitations, but Jacob would know better than
I
I.
think it is 2 years.
It is, that's what he
It
said.
is, but I will say, that your hypothetical is accurate, but then there's an issue with proving that Brightspeed caused that specific injury.
I deal with this daily.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brightspeed's attorney, I'd say, well, that's not our injury. Your pipe was
7:27 p.m.
You know, 2 years ago, this crack was there 2 years ago, as opposed to 7 years ago when we did work here. If I was their attorney, that's what I would say. So 7 years
I deal with it a lot over in my area, and I've had a lot of utilities hit. And we didn't find one till almost 9 years later, because the guy didn't hook up to a lateral. Then when we finally hooked to it, the guy had problems. 3 months later, we're out there digging it. We dig it up, and there's a big old phone line running right through the middle of it. And that was 10 years to the day that we found it. And then it was on us to fix.
But by that point, the
Bonds are gonna have.
at least 8 years before, at least in this case, a claim can be filed. It's a factual argument whether or not you win it or not.
Correct.
But there is still coverage.
Well, I guess in that case, it would be pretty obvious that that phone line belonged to whoever the phone
Right.
company is. And we could say, that in our case, Brightspeed, that's your fiber optic cable running right through our sewer pipe, is it not? We'd have to say yes, and then we'd have to cover it. So, again, to Joe's point, it's from discovery. So you discovered it 10 years later. And if the facts are that obvious, I think we'd have to explain it.
Yeah, that's the thing. If we hit them and go to the middle of them, we're going to eventually find them. There's no doubt it's going to create a lot of pressure. And I know that the town is actually working on a new ordinance on how to take care of our system a little better with Cameron and stuff like that, which really makes it good for the town at the time. I know we don't have that now. My biggest concern is I hate to go against an ordinance that's already there. I mean, I hate to change something unless it's been brought to by the town to say, hey, we're going to change this, it's for the better, for the worse, you know, and go through that route. But I hate changing them once they're there, because went through this and we set a precedent for everybody what comes in before this new ordinance. If we change it for one, then we're changing it for everybody what comes behind them. And that's.
And the ordinance is outdated.
Correct, it is, there's no doubt.
I mean,
Mr. Bowman's suggesting will actually provide significantly more coverage to the town by my estimation.
Right.
And I read it, I read the whole thing and went through it a couple times.
A bond is a really strange mechanism to use for this. It's not even, I don't think it's not the appropriate mechanism to use. You can't necessarily even pull that bond if they damage something. Under standard bond terms, bonds are for non-performance.
Correct.
Typically, so you're going to be much more likely with an insurance claim to actually get the money, because the bonder might fight you. They're going to
I've dealt with bonds
You
before.
can't call this bond.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you guys. Michelle Brzezicki with Brightspeed. I am available for any questions you have. The only comment that I would add is that our project has not changed. It's just the first time that we presented it to the town. We presented the project in its entirety, which does have over 300 more locations. The town then asked us to see which ones were in the right of way, and that is where you get to the number of approximately 60. The rest are just in easements.
I was guessing that was what had happened. So it's 60 is the actual number of right-of-ways.
It's about 63, it's a 60 some change. We do want to go aerial whenever possible. It is easier for the workers, it's easier for the community, and there's less damage involved. So in our plan, wherever possible, we do use our existing bone lines to overlash the fiber over the copper.
Well, I guess what I would suggest would be that we ask council to draft us a new ordinance that would take into account Mr. Bowman's recommendations and any recommendations of the Director of Administrations and the Director of Operations. And that we take a look at that next month would be my thought.
And Joe, that's what we've been working on internally, is to prepare it for Stephen to kind of, massage and make it, presentable. So we have, and I'll tell you, it's more strict than even what Jacob's asking. Maybe not the COI amount, but it still does require the camering of laterals is what we're looking at doing, because we really do feel that that's not only a protection for the town and its sewer lines that tend to get hit and that, but also laterals that are in those areas. So.
Well, I mean, whatever draft,
Yep.
the council can look at whatever draft comes for us, but we do need to update it, I think, one way or another.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, I like your persistence. I think offering more opportunities for service and competition in this space is certainly good for our residents. But protecting our infrastructure is very important, so.
Yeah. So we're leaving it for the town administration to to work with the council and bring us a new ordinance then, right?
That would be my proposal.
I agree.
If I can insert that, Brightspeed unfortunately will not be able to do the camera work. It's cost prohibitive for our project.
No, I understand that. I think
I think we discussed that in some detail last time. I would certainly want to see
what's in the draft as far as what I would propose or amend or whatnot.
And we are still going to proceed with our area where we can. We will not be able to serve the entire city or town with the high-speed fiber, but wherever we can, we will make that work.
Okay.
I've already received a card in my mailbox that you're coming.
Well, your husband helped us with the positioning of your property.
Okay.
Well, we'll take a look at that next month and hopefully get something figured out.
Thank you guys very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I agree. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Jacob. Okay, next, new business. Enforcement of 72.02 parking on the town streets and rights of way. Don't know,
I asked that this be added to the agenda.
I don't know. We're not looking for an ordinance or anything. We're just gonna discuss.
Well, this comes up. I'll just speak to why I asked that it be added on, if that's all right. So, I became aware that a member of the council had a meeting with the chief where the chief was given, well, at least what the chief perceived to be directives, as well as a threat of discipline, if the parking tickets weren't written in the way that he wanted them. And when I received that written summary of that meeting, which spoke of directives and that sort of stuff, I was frankly very concerned. I was very concerned for two reasons. One, the meeting was at least written, was on behalf of the town council, which I certainly did not vote or in any way take any official action to authorize someone to go to the chief and threaten discipline or give him directives. And so it's my opinion that would be a open door violation if that did happen. And if it did happen, I would be curious why I was excluded from that. Second portion of it that really bothered me is that we have an ordinance, a specific ordinance, 3401, which specifically prohibits town council members, including the town council president, from giving directives or orders or managing day-to-day duties of any employee or official of the town. And I know that we have that because I wrote it when we were in this position last. And it is very, very upsetting and frustrating to me that this occurred. And it's very, very frustrating and upsetting to me the way that our police officers and our police chief are being treated. 36574 gives the police chief specific duties, specific authorities, and one of them is that he serves the legislative body, which is the same body that appoints him, not the town council president and not anybody else. And so if anybody's going to give the chief a directive, it has to be this body and nobody else. No single member tells any police officer, much less the marshal, what to do. That's illegal. It's illegal both by state law and it's illegal under the open door law and it's illegal under our ordinance. Threatening any sort of discipline or making any reference to disciplining the chief. Specifically, 36573, the chief of the marshal of a town has merit protections. He's not like the chief of a city who serves at just the pleasure and will of the mayor. If he's been here more than 6 months, he serves at our pleasure, but he gets the disciplinary proceeding that's outlined in the merit statute. No member of this body should be threatening any sort of discipline of the chief or any police officer other than through the merit board, which is in our case is the public safety board. It is not anybody's business, whether elected to any position in this town, to do that unilaterally. So I wanted to address that. The next thing that I want to address is that on a personal note, I have known Chief Shipp for right about 20 years when I started as a deputy prosecutor. I spent 15 years as a law enforcement officer here in Johnson County, and I've known the chief and all of our officers on a personal level going back decades. And it is infuriating to me that our chief and our police are being treated like a homeowners association enforcement mechanism. That's not what they are. You know, I sat down with the chief of the sex and child crimes division at the prosecutor's office a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me that Whiteland PD is one of her absolute favorite smaller departments in this county when it comes to child victim crimes. It's because the officers are dedicated, they do a good job, and they know when to ask for help. They know that if they need to ask a bigger department for resources, they know where they know where things are good and where they're not, and they do a really good job. They do the best job, in my opinion, of any small department as far as handling horribly complex crimes. That I'm not going to get into what it takes to do those investigations, but it's a trip into the bowels of hell, and it's really easy to mess up. And they do phenomenal work. And that's not coming from me. I was never a sex crimes prosecutor. That's coming from the chief sex crimes prosecutor of the Johnson County Prosecutor's Office. That she loves the work that our police officers do. I work with Terry McLaughlin. Terry was sheriff. Rick was a deputy. Terry's about the hardest man you'll ever run across in a lot of ways. He has nothing but good things to say about Rick Shipp. Nothing but good things. Dwayne Burgess, our elected sheriff. Another guy that I have the pleasure to work with on a pretty regular basis. Nothing but good things to say about Rick Shipp. This point, I don't know every officer in this county by name and face. But there was a time about 10 years ago that I did. All 250 of them. And they all have good things to say about Rick Shipp. And the idea that he is getting jerked around because of parking tickets, if I seem a little hot, it's because I am. He's a cop, and he's done a wonderful job. And if you want to know what kind of job he does, he gives us an outline of every run, every call that they take in Spillman. And he does that. And for him to be confronted that my Ring doorbell notifications say there's crime in the area, that matters, not the actual numbers that come through Johnson County Communications and are logged there. We can't fudge the numbers even if we wanted to. Those come through county communications and they cannot be changed. You can't change anything in Spillman without it being logged. So we have those numbers, or we can have that the Ring doorbell app butting up to Knollwood Farms says there's crime. This is offensive. This is offensive to the chief. It's offensive to every one of these officers. I wanted this on the agenda tonight, and I told the president why I wanted it on the agenda tonight. Because in my opinion, there's been an open door law violation, there's been a violation, or a violation of our ordinances, or we are doing the exact same thing that has lost us really good and really great employees in the past. And that's part of why I drafted that ordinance, about 6-7 years ago, was because I was sick of that happening. As far as I'm concerned, if this continues by any member of the town council, I will seek standing to sue and have an injunction to prevent this again. I'm a member of this body. I'm elected to this body, and I do not appreciate having the powers and duties of this body usurped and in such an offensive way. That's what I have to say about it. I think the chief wanted to speak as well.
I'd like a chance to explain our department. When it's under fire, I feel like it's under fire from Richard Hill. They do a phenomenal job out here. We haven't had a major crime in over a year. I'm talking burglary, break-in, vehicle break-ins, and he has the audacity to send this to me and say, we're not in the additions patrol. Well, if we're not in the additions patrolling, how in the heck are we getting no crime? Now, we've been tasked pretty heavily lately of new businesses building everywhere, companies building everywhere, warehouses building everywhere. We've got truck stops we handle. We currently, right now, are at 2,047 runs. Or I'm sorry, 1,047 runs just prior to today. And that's divvied up between all our officers having to do that. My job is to look at the town the best way we can protect it. So when I analyze stuff, I look at the data. I've got it right here, as Councilmember Saylor said. It's right out, it's all of that data that we go by on our runs. We go out there and we work hard. I look at it and I says, I gotta make a decision. Do I want to be responsible for parking, or do you want a safe community? Do you want no crime in the community? Or do you want parking? I get it, parking is part of our job, part of our enforcement. We try to do that at each time we get it. But when I get this letter, it upsets me, and even Mr. Hill stated that I get upset. Why do I get so upset? Because you're slamming my department. We do a damn good job, excuse my language. But I would like, I know you got this allegedly, but as we're talking in this meeting that he brought up to me, after I get the directives of what to do, then the conversation goes to, Mr. Shipp, how old are you? I said, I hadn't thought about it because I've been so busy trying to protect the damn town. But I realized I'm 69, pushing 70.
4 years older than me.
Correct. So the next answer is, when did I have a plan on retiring? So I take that offensive. I really do. Because I still can get out here and do stuff. When I'm not capable of doing it, and I feel like I can't do it, then I'll retire. But at this point, and I've considered it real, it's been on my mind pretty heavy here lately for taking this step. But I'd like to go over it. But first I'd like to explain, and I believe in town ordinances and enforcement them when we get a chance. But I believe crime comes first. I need to protect the families of the community and protect the citizens of the community. And we work very hard, as everyone knows, the police department, police personnel are taking hits from all aspects that we're bad cops, not good cops. And this is over the whole United States. So we work hard. I work very hard. Our guys work very hard. community relations. We work with the, we bring them in, we start getting neighborhood watches. We stop, you see my guys stop talking to people. So we're trying to build rapport, which, believe it or not, helps solve crimes. Now, when I get an order to go out and start enforcing parking stuff, or a directive, I should say, it starts, it's just a troubling ordinance that I've never liked. So when you serve somebody an ordinance, families are struggling right now. They're doubling up, living in households, trying to get by, and I get it. They're doubling up and they're parked, they got a lot of cars there. So we try to enforce, probably the majority, we go to the house and knock on the door. I was right across the street from Tim's house last night, Monday night at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, on that car.
3 in the morning?
Yeah, I come out at 3 in the morning because I wanted to see when somebody's accusing us of not doing our job, I come out and see. So I marked on and I drove, I wanted to see how long it'd take. Drive it down, I want to see what cars are out there. And I see the cars, I go up, try to knock, try to get them moving. Luckily, she come finally.
So that was you, because my neighbor come over and talked to me, because it was 5:51, as he was saying, and I talked to him about that, and I said, you know, if the car's sit there all night, then there's frost on the window. I said, that's how they determine it, because he was saying, well, it's 2 to 5. I said, well, you got to understand that we might not be there at that time, but if we roll up and they see frost on the window, we're assuming it's been there all night.
You're dry. But that wasn't the point. I still want to make contact, and this girl finally come out.
Yep.
Young lady, nice young lady, understood. I apologized for waking her up. She said, I apologize because I aimed to put my car back in the drive, but I had the drive open for my mom to get home from work. She says, I'll move it right now. I said, that's all I ask. I don't want to write you a ticket. So anyway, I come out because I wanted to see what's going on. And I wanted to see, you know, what's going on. So I run the whole streets. I started at 2. Logged all the cars I seen parked. The only thing I didn't do is take the time to write the warning on the card. I just run the plate, make sure if it's there, just to get a time frame of what my guys are going through. It took me, at 3.5 hours, I had not made the full round through the town. And that's not taking runs that they're having to drop and take runs. They may go see a parked car and do it. Plus, the danger that I see is when you pull into an addition and you got your mindset, you've been given a directive to do parking, you're not looking for the office, you're not looking at the garage, or you're not looking at cars or a dome light on in the car. All you're thinking is, I've been ordered to do parking. And that's what you're drilled to. It's a safety feature that scares me to death. I'm very aware of that, but that is my job, is to analyze what's more severe, what needs more. And we come back, and I've got it, I'll give you the stats here. I'm sorry to take up so much time, but it's just overwhelming to me. And the parking ordinance is right in the middle, 2 to 5. The stats show it nationwide. Our highest crime rates, 2 to 6 in the morning. So I have my guys, I tell them, and they'll tell you what I tell them. Get in the additions, patrol the additions, check the warehouses, and make your laps. Outside of going out at the truck stop, handling maybe a parking problem that takes 3 to 4 hours to knock on each semi to get them to move out so we don't have a traffic lot. And so there's a lot going on. You know, 1,027 some runs, there's a lot going on. At that time frame at 2 to 4, our night officers are starting down, unwind their shift, and they're closing out their runs, because if they haven't had nothing major. But we've done a great job. Now look, we've had 4 DUIs for the month. That's 4 drunk drivers taken off the streets that could maybe hit a family or something, or in something. So they're doing great patrol. And it offends me very bad when, instead of just picking that phone up, I know when you're town board president, you get phone calls, hey, to the parking yard. I guarantee if you look at who's calling, it's probably the same guy calling every time. But anyway, it's just the way it goes. But I don't want them to get, and I take full responsibility, because I did. I said, go, let's go out, see what we got. And then I was ashamed of what we come back and what we wrote people. Because we write these people. Now we got some crime that happened next door. And a neighbor sat there and watched it happen and give us information to solve the crime. He said, I'm not giving you no information. You wrote me a $25 parking ticket 2 weeks ago. Don't fly kite. So now we've lost our rapport with the, that we've worked hard to build. And they do a great job building the rapport with the public. So this ordinance has just shot that all to heck. I like approaching like I did across from Tim's house. If we got time, go up and knock, gives us time to introduce ourselves. It's kind of risky at 3 in the morning knocking on somebody's door, but when they do answer, it gives us time to communicate with them. We're giving them, hey, look, we don't want you to get tickets, can you just move your car? And most of them, just like this lady, forgot. She fell asleep and didn't get back in the drive. But then we got a couple that come in pretty upset that's had some hardships, and they got several family members living with them. We try to work with them. But it's not a good ordinance for us to enforce, is what I'm saying. We need to maybe go back and look at it and do some updating on that. Because I've not had one call where emergency equipment can't get down the street. Not one call in the 17 years I've been here. That fire department will get down the street if you're in the way. Or they can call us and we'll get it towed. So anyway, rambling on. I just want to go over what was addressed to me by Richard Hill. And he included the whole town council, so I felt like the whole town council ought to give me a chance to address you why I do this. So comes in and I say, sit down and start coming. Rather than just picking the phone up a month or two prior to this and saying, hey, I'm getting calls on parking. What are you doing about it? Come in, Richard, sit down, we'll show you the stats. We'll show you what we're doing. We'll show you what's going on. You know, just takes their perception, this gives me perception. Neighborhoods are not being patrolled and not enforcing the town ordinance. Why do we not have major crime in the neighborhoods if we're not even in there? So that shows we're in there. Besides the extra directive stuff that we log into data coming through the Johnson County Dispatch. So that one starts me off. So I address that with him, the perception. It is a perception, it's a misperception. We're in the neighborhoods. And I'm tired of him come around and just do that. I don't know what's going wrong with it, but it's tearing apart a good department. My guys, and I didn't even know they were coming, but they're here to support. We're a tight group. We believe in family values. We believe in a small community, and we believe in talking to people, working with people. This does nothing but make enemies for us that we may need later. We may have an officer getting his tail kicked in the street, and the homeowner says, I'm not helping him. He wrote me a $25 parking ticket. And to some people, $25 is a lot of money. So that's going into that. You know, again, the perception neighborhoods are not being patrolled. I address that response. The town is being patrolled every day, every night, thoroughly. That's why we have not had any criminal mischief, car break-ins or burglaries or anything in the neighborhoods for almost a year. Now that's pretty remarkable for a police department. And I've got the data right here to show you. But yet, we need to be out pushing parking tickets. No, I feel like the best thing we're doing is what we're doing right now, is proactive patrolling, protecting the community, and keeping crime down. People know when they come to our town that they're gonna get caught, because we're in the additions, so they don't come to our additions. They stay out of them. Then he gives me the potential crime issues. As previously stating, reviewing our monthly stats, there is no major crime. Now, you'll get a little here and there, but nothing major. And I know I'm jinxing myself. But just to give an example of this, we tried it his way. Well, I should say the way that they wanted. No, we get a warehouse. gets damage out there, some equipment damage. And next thing you know, we got theft out of a construction site that we haven't had because my guys are more worried about writing parking tickets right now to keep me out of trouble than doing what I like them to stay in the neighborhoods or work with. It's frustrating, and I can't help but get frustrated over it. Unsafe for everyone with emergency vehicles, access to the streets, and snow plowing problems, okay? I got hit on snow plowing because we couldn't plow the streets evidently. I think Slim was quoted in that as calling Richard saying you can't plow the streets because the cars are in the courts and the cars on the street that we're not taking care of the parking. Well, I'm sorry, we had 53 slide-offs during that period, and we're a little busy out on the main streets, waiting on a record pull out or ourselves out trying to help push people out of ditches. We didn't have time to get into the addition, but if you'd called and needed one emergency, we'd have made it, but we was too busy handling main thoroughways with slide-offs. So that, I addressed that with him. And recall Mr. Hill addressed it in December about parked cars. And he made me a question mark, didn't understand it. During the holidays, we have families come to our town. They get together, they stay all night. They may be drinking. I don't know, it's not our thing to go up to the house and check, but if they're drinking and are visiting their family on the holidays, do we want to put them back in their car and put them on the street, driving because they're just parked out front? I won't do it. So I have my guys back off on the parking, just for that fact. And then we come back in January, February, and start trying to pick it up when we get a chance. But lately, we've been so taxed with all the new businesses going up and the town's growing. We don't even have stop signs over in the new edition, period. So it's kind of tough to enforce one edition, and then you can't enforce the other edition because there's not even no parking sign in the edition, in the new edition. So it makes it tough on us. But the plowing, we tried to work with it, we tried to give enough notice to get you out, to get the roads clear, but there's times when we're stuck doing more stuff that takes more priority over a parking thing. Spring Hill subdivision. He says number 6. His wife received a phone call from a bus driver that couldn't get down the streets. All right. Nobody called me to tell me, for me to look into it. So then this is news to me. So I called the bus superintendent, Mike. And I asked Mike, have you had any complaints from your bus drivers that can't get down the roads around school time or even earlier? No, not a person said anything. So how do you defend something that you're not even getting a complaint on? But yet it's in here, the bus driver called Rita, or Anita, Richard's wife, complaining about it. Number 7, Oakville subdivision HOA held. Residents asked about cars on the streets and what can be done about it. They didn't invite me over to the HOA meeting to address the problem. I mean, I could have addressed it, but no, I get slammed here. And now I was informed this is not a write-up, this is just a directive of what to do. So, again, knowing me, I'm trying to be calm. I'm a faithful believing man, I gotta stay calm. But you're putting down my department does a hell of a job, and I'm gonna defend them to the hill. If I don't, I can't get it worked out, then I don't know. It's just frustrating. Then we got, 20 cars, 20-degree or colder weather, number 8. Some cars have been there all night. Maybe that night, I looked it up. We had 2 DUIs that night. We had a mental subject. A DUI takes at least 4 hours. Time you go through the process, take them down, book them in, come back and do your paperwork. So at 2 or 3 in the morning, my night officers are trying to get their paperwork done. When they get that done, then they'll go into the addition. But there's some nights we're not going to get any. we're not gonna be able to get to it. So, just explaining that one. Chad Road, again, I don't know, 8 cars around, so that's why I chose to get out and drive and see it for myself, and just time it and see. If I had an officer who had to go out and do this all night, we wouldn't be able to do nothing else but parking tickets. It takes too long to do it. And they gotta sit there and write the ticket and everything else. Plus the safety factor, while they're reading everything, they're vulnerable to anybody coming down the road. They don't, they're keyed in on a computer trying to write that ticket at 3 a.m. And they don't know if they're gonna get ambushed. 37 officers were ambushed in 24, just walked up to the cars and shot them. So just put that out there. Then the number 10, I still haven't figured it out. 3 or 4 cars on a first north/south road or fourth. I don't know where that's even at. If I know what he's talking about, that's actually county's road there on the south side, Maple. Half of it goes into this county jurisdiction. It bothers me, so that's why I appreciate the time of you guys listening to me. But just to give you the stats, I was told, in January, when I was addressed to him, I said, we'll take care of it. Well, we started, we did 77 tickets in March for parking, which to me just is, I don't know, I feel ashamed to put that on the public. 77 parking tickets, when we should have been out doing some real crime. And again, I know it's an ordinance and we enforce it. So, we've wrote 95 ordinance violations, incidences for 2025. When I was accused in here on some of the lines of not doing nothing, we were writing tickets. We write 7 here, 10 here. We were doing it. And I'm an old-fashioned guy. I've got 41 years in law enforcement. I'm an old-fashioned guy. You tell me you got a parking problem going on in town, and I say, I'm gonna take care of it. I take care of it. It's power. You don't need to sit me down in a meeting, and give me a 2-page list, and let me know that, asking kind of things you would ask my, maybe you didn't mean nothing by it. But then you come following up the next day with an email, and I've never got an email from him before, but I do appreciate him reminding me about our meeting, because I am kind of forgetful at this age. I appreciate the follow-up email, making sure I understood the directive and what to do. I did appreciate that, because sometimes I do forget. But anyway, we're trying, we're out here working hard. And I understand when we get time, parking will come, and we'll do it. And I think we took care of one problem. We had one parking right at the sign by your house, Jim. And I had a meeting with that gentleman.
Well, they asked me, and that's why I was gonna let you talk, and then I'll address this, because I got some questions, and I wanna see what's going on.
And we're more than glad to address it. I know it's a problem. We've got a problem here. But it's my job to priority of what's more important at the time of the day, night or time of the day to do. I'm out there, I gotta make a decision, life and death situation decision on the spot. And I'm not gonna be hurt if I have to make it. You've hired me to trust my ability to be able to make the right decisions. That doesn't hold this town liable. That's why my 41 years experience comes into play. I know when to do this, when that, and it's a split second. I don't have time to call the town board president, hey, we need to kick this door in, but is it okay if I go ahead? I won't operate that way. I just won't do it. You're gonna have to trust in what I do, and our numbers show it. And out of the 41 years I've worked, I've worked with some great guys, don't get me wrong, I'm not putting them down, but I've never had a better bunch than this bunch right here. These guys go out and get it. They do the job, we get a lot of arrests, we get our arrests are good, hard arrests, they hold up in court, they know the law, and we have the luxury. A lot of departments are calling me, saying, what's going on over there? We can't even get a full list to apply for our departments. I've got a stack of people wanting to come from other departments. And that's not cause of me, that's cause of these guys that do the job. We're fortunate, we're not short any help. But again, we don't lose help. They stay. For some reason, they just keep hanging around, I don't know. But they stay with us, and they get familiar with the community. They get familiar with each citizen out here. The citizens know it. And that's policing. You gotta get out and police. You know, we started a cadet program, so we reach out into the high schools. Our cadets are just excelling unbelievable because of the training they're getting from these guys. And they're taking it serious, and they're all future prospectives of law enforcement. I've got a granddaughter. She's enrolling in law enforcement. She's going to become a police officer because of these guys and myself. It reaches out to everybody. We work our tails off to be in the community, and the only thing with the town work with the parking, it throws us back. So many times it throws us back. That people want to support us, but now they're mad at us. Because they don't see it, that it's a town, whereas they see a police officer trying to move their car. And right now, that's a tough thing to tell somebody when you're trying to get a good rapport with them. So that's just my take of what I want to do. And I'll, like I say, Kim, if you got questions.
I do. Have you ever heard from me on the parking ordinance? Have I ever come to you and said, hey, I've got problems with people parking in there? That's right, because when Richard called me and asked me about this, I said, yeah, I got a car down the road parks in front of it every day. I said, but it eventually happen. I says, if you have a problem, then I know Chief Shiv will be more than happy to listen to anything you got to say. Was I aware that he reprimanded you? Not at all.
Well, it wasn't a reprimand, it's just-
Okay, well, how it sounded like he was writing it up. Right, and that's what I'm curious about.
This reads like a reprimand.
Right, and that's why I'm curious.
Resolution and corrective action.
Immediate attention.
Okay, my point is,
But there's nothing to correct.
right, my point is I understand, I wish he was here. Because I hate to talk about someone what's not here. That's a big thing about me. I like everybody to be straight up and honest, but that way it takes the he said, she said stuff out of it. I knew there was a problem with that guy parking there. I figured eventually it would happen. Richard said, do you have a problem like that? I said, you know what? I'm just as guilty. I got a truck and I'll put my fifth wheel behind it, my gooseneck, and I leave it out on the road. I'm guilty. I know I am. It won't fit in my driveway, but I'm usually hauling something out to the farm by then. So I understand. Now, I got a son what's guilty of it. I mean, guilty is guilty. And I get that. I understand that. 10 years ago, I did get a parking ticket from you guys. It was funny. It was my daughter's car when she was in high school. And I kept telling her, don't park on the road. You go get a ticket. And I understand that we can do them when we can do them. But I never once have come to you and told you ever to do that. I appreciate the job that all you guys doing.
Nobody here has. That's why I kind of was so full, I was floored that I got hit with this in writing. I said, you did not once call me. The only email you ever sent me was to back up and make sure I was clear on the directions you just gave me in writing the day before. Now, I know, like I say, I can forget things, and I appreciate that, so I won't forget. But it's just, I'm a straight guy. I don't need it in writing. You tell me I'm not doing the job, then let's just talk it out. But I have to know we got a problem. We've got to have a call come in, maybe one or two about parking that we deal with. It seems to be the same people complaining, and when we go check, there's not there. Now, here's my major problem. After the directive, and again, I apologize, he's not here, but I wish he was, so I can look him eye to eye, face to face, and ask him why. But I can't, because he's not here, but it needs to be addressed. My officers, 2 o'clock, they're finishing up reports back over by the school, back away where they're outside, so nobody can see them. Their approach, they see a truck coming up to them. They don't know who's approaching them. First they think, well, it might be a county truck. It's a white truck, Dodge truck, it might be a county. Don't see a star on the side of it. Comes up, approaches him, gets out of the truck, approaches my officer, introduces himself, hey, I'm Richard Hill, Animal President. I seen a couple extra cars that didn't get tagged for parking. There was 3 of them that got tagged, but we missed a couple. And, but I appreciate, he did thank her for her hard work. Now that's, you know, that's a safety factor. My officers sitting there don't know who's approaching them. Got their gun, which we're trained, kind of half holstered, but you don't know who's coming up to you. Why do I got a town council person out running around checking on my people 3 or 4 in the morning? That upsets me pretty bad. Then, you know, I got another officer that, routine patrolling. We're in the additions, like we're not supposed to be in additions. He's patrolling the addition. He goes down Mr. Hill's court, makes the turn around the court, pouring down rain. Door opens. Come on in, Richard, because I'd like to just tell you right now. Pouring down rain, approaches my officer, comes right out the door in socks, wet. He wants to know what he's doing. He says, I'm patrolling the district, I'm doing my patrol. Well, thank you for what you've done and all that. But it's still, it's messing, intimidation to him. And I don't know if he's here when you heard me talk about when he approached my officer over here at the school when she was doing her reports. And asked about.
Oh, the lady?
Yeah.
Her name's Emily. She's sitting right there.
My police officer.
I introduced who I was.
But you're coming up to her school in the morning, Richard. You don't know who's approaching you.
Well, that's why I rolled my window down. I said, hi. I said, my name's Richard Hill. I said, I don't mean to startle you.
I don't understand why you're out checking on parked cars.
I went out and checked parked cars to see what parked cars were out there.
Okay. And like I say, I wish you'd hear to start with, so I can explain the stats.
Well, I apologize because my mom's in the hospital, so I'm just coming back from the hospital.
But I'm glad you're here so I can face your face to face. I don't appreciate the coaching officers doing that. You got a problem, just call me. We got the stats right here. I got every stat. I can tell you every ticket we wrote. We were writing parking tickets when you were complaining about it. We were writing. And you know, to floor me with a written base I looked at it, I can know it. You don't correct it, there's penalties to follow. Now, and I don't know, but with just policeman's intuition, you drive around the neighborhood, you're caught on the camera going by one of my officer's house. Then you go by the other officer's house. Next day, he gets a call from our town. We've been doing some remodeling. Hey, do you have a permit? Tyler, do you have a permit for the remodeling, just a bathroom, just remodeling, change some things? And lo and behold, the next time, get another call. Officer Webb gets a call. Hey, have you got a permit for your remodeling? Now, I don't know who would report that, but, you know, since he comes in, my officer comes in and requests a freedom of information request, it's given to him. He's no more out the door, your truck's coming up in here to have a meeting or something. So I don't know. I'm just gonna ask you,
What exactly are you accusing me of?
I'm not accusing, I'm asking, did you report anything to the town side about?
About who?
Remodeling?
Absolutely not. Emphatically no.
Okay, good.
And Mr. Croy, Mr. Ship, I didn't say anything about what you were doing. I had no idea what the hell you're doing.
Okay.
I drive around the town just like everybody else
We've
does.
just been told right up front when we asked the person that said he's coming, but.
So Tyler was doing some home improvements and didn't get a permit.
Correct. Didn't realize he had to have it.
Well, so it's a public record who called, who complained.
They wouldn't give it to us. Carmen refused to give it to us. They asked for freedom of information, Carmen, and you just give it to us. You wouldn't tell him.
What is going on?
Hold on a second. So I have not received a public information request for the project.
Correct.
And how I talked to my building commissioner per the code, how we have the conversation when we are told or brought to the attention of a potential, like, hey, maybe somebody's doing some work. Per the building commissioner that is spelled out in the code, and how we handle it is say, just giving you a call, just wanted to see what's going on, we received a call. We wanted to check it out, see if it's something that we need to, you know, maybe have a permit. Per the code, it does mention any mechanical, electrical, plumbing. When you have a Carter's Plumbing sign in your front yard, that's kind of the first heads up that you might be doing some plumbing work. And to say, you know, just explain to me what you're doing. I didn't hear the conversation with Billy and with Tyler, but Billy and Tyler.
I'd love to explain it.
And Billy and I have, hold on, so Billy and I just revisited this conversation yesterday. Because what it was determined was it's like for like, and I said, great, that's fine. So he did come back to me and he said, because he was like, hey, I gotta call Tyler, you know, we had this call come in, and, you know, to say, you know, well, if you have a plumbing sign in your yard, that's usually a person.
There was never no plumbing sign.
Okay.
And it happened this occurred over 2 weeks ago.
Well, either way, the name of the complainant is a public record.
And during that conversation, Billy informed me that Carmen would be calling me to quote unquote clear the air, and nobody has called.
Yeah, he did, okay, I'm not gonna throw Billy under the bus.
But why would you need to
We're
know?
rather far afield here.
Why would you need to know who called?
It's public records.
Public record.
But why?
If they called in
I
here,
know,
they
it's
can't.
public records, but why would you need to know?
Well, you know,
Screenshot of it. It's because I can't.
He has an absolute right.
Correct.
Okay.
So the request, again, like I said, did we make Tyler get a permit? Absolutely not, he did not. But the one thing is, we do get calls and people say, so-and-so, we tell on each other, I'm telling you, people do. And they say, you know, hey, I think they're doing some work. And so we call and just say, would you explain to me what you're doing? And then it's up to the building commissioner per the code to determine if it requires a building permit. Again, the MEPs and anything, the way that the code reads is anything over $500 structurally. So he called Tyler and,
He sent me a text message.
oh, okay, well.
And then we called.
Yeah, so, again, what was told to me, he didn't tell me that Carmen told, or
Well,
Billy told.
now we're here in public meeting. Will you say who submitted the screenshot to your phone? That Billy told me that you have?
It was me,
Okay.
it was me, so let me explain this. So, and you can, you know, it's public information.
Why didn't you tell us right up front?
I did, I went through the proper channels per our code as building commissioner, it says to call
So just on record, you took a screenshot of my personal Facebook page.
that we're friends on.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. And then you submitted it to Billy and said,
Right.
Billy, hey, follow up on it.
Right.
You didn't.
So let me
you just didn't
explain,
contact me.
let me just bring this all full circle, okay? So what triggered it, I received a fire department alert, there was a dumpster fire. There was a call to a 670,
I gotta stand up.
there was a call for a dumpster. So I looked it up and it was not, I mean, a police department, they are blocked from public information as far as where they live. And I had asked Billy, I said, hey, there was a dumpster fire. And then later that day, Tyler did post on his Facebook that he had a remodel of his bathroom. So again, I go through the proper channels. I don't want to call Tyler, just as, you know, Tyler doesn't necessarily call me. We go through the proper channels for a building permit. Just to ask a simple question, but immediately it became defensive. And then, so is this a police matter or is this a building matter?
It's my officer's matter. When it comes to ask for
But he's a
freedom of information.
resident of the town of Whitefield, okay?
Okay,
Well, either way, it appears that that Tyler's
bathroom issue is unrelated to the topic that we're talking about right now, which is the street parking issue and the written directive to Chief Ship by the council president. So I guess if we want to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about it, but I'd like to finish the topic that we're on.
Yeah, back to the parking. I would like to think, I've had a couple complaints, but I haven't told you because I haven't seen you. And I would like to think that I could come over here and talk to you and let you know.
My door's always open.
Right, I hope you wouldn't think that I was reprimanding you or giving you directives or anything, but I think it's my duty to report anything that a resident complains.
But they would come on and tell me in conversation, they give me a written.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I can come talk to you,
My door, I tell everybody.
because
The citizen that come at my door.
I've known you twice as much as Joe has. So,
I would appreciate that information before I get a written.
okay, I just want to make sure I could come talk to you.
I had no clue.
Okay.
May I interject just one minute?
Anyway,
I just want to make sure that you're aware, from what I've heard so far, that this could be considered a personnel matter that you can discuss further in a executive session. Can't do it tonight because we haven't given an open door law notice, but this is getting pretty prolonged at this point. If you were to desire to further discuss it in a private executive session, I think you would have the right to do that.
Yeah.
Just wanted you to be aware.
And I think it'd be nice if we could all do it and sit down and come to an agreement face to face and all of us.
We can't come to an agreement in executive session, all we can.
Right, but I'm just saying, at least we could talk about it and figure out what's the best direction we can go with this. I mean, because I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Richard's coming from. Like I said, I'm as guilty as parking on the road too, and I understand the rules. And I've been guilty of it with trailers and stuff. And I understand that, it is a concern for snowplow. And I plow snow in the winter too. So I understand that in the winter, it's really crucial that the cars be off of that. You know that, everybody knows that. Because cul-de-sacs are the worst. And I get stuck doing every one in Barkersville. But you are doing the best you can.
Can I just address this? So, again, I apologize for coming in late. So, when I put this together, I touched base with all the council members, okay, and everybody was on the same page.
Do you really want to acknowledge an open door violation that everybody else says didn't happen? If we come to an agreement to have you do this, that is illegal. That is blatantly illegal, and this is putting what we did is illegal in writing. And I would like to point out that I never agreed to this or anything like this.
I looked at it as not,
This was, I mean, okay,
it's just a statement of,
okay, can we bring the temperature down a little bit, okay? Joe called me after this. I took it upon myself to write out some things just for talking points. There was nothing of any type of aggression or anything like that. It was talking points that I wanted to talk to you about that I thought everybody was on the same page. Mr. Saylor called me and he had a concern about a word I used, and I apologize. I didn't mean to do that. It was a poor choice of words. Okay? So people are coming to me asking me why everybody's parking on the streets. I wrote it down. I thought we had a pretty good meeting, Mr. Shipp. I thought everything was okay because after the meeting, we were talking about cars, talking about needs, talking about vacations. I mean, I thought it was very professional, it was very productive. I think it's got way out of hand on something that has been going on since 2024. If I've used a poor choice of words and misrepresented the council somehow, then I'll take my lumps. But that's not what the intention was. Okay, the intention was just to address something that I felt that I'm supposed to address. If I'm wrong for doing that, then, and you guys are mad at me for how I did it, then I apologize. I'm just trying to do the best I can and juggle multiple projects and balls, and evidently I can't do anything right here.
it's for a safety factor, number one. Why are you out approaching my officers at 4 a.m?
Sir, I was driving. You know what? Mr. Shipp, I told you, I don't have to justify anything, okay? I am tired of getting phone calls about this. I'm tired of my neighbors coming to me. I'm tired of my wife getting calls from the Clark. Just let me finish, sir, okay? I will give you the same courtesy, okay?
I appreciate that.
Okay? What else are we supposed to do? Set back and not do anything? I talked to everybody in here except for Joe, because I didn't have it. I text you and say, hey, have a heads up. I talked to these people over here. I talked to Mr. Godecker. as long as it was done professionally, everybody was on board. If I chose a poor word, that's my fault. I'll take the blame for it. And I apologize.
Like a directive to me.
Well, and I apologize if I startled that young lady. I don't even recognize who you are or where you're at.
She went on the call.
Okay, I introduced myself. I didn't mean to startle you. I rolled down my window. I introduced who I was, and I said, I'm just checking. I have the right to go around and check things. I have the right to drive around just as a regular citizen.
But you don't have the right to take the powers of the legislative body that are given to us and take them onto yourself and give the police chief directives. You don't have the right to do what would be the most blatant open door violation I've ever seen, starting with Richard Hill on behalf of the town council. Town council requests immediate resolution and corrective actions to be initiated. That violates the hell out of the open door policy if that did happen, if the town council did authorize you to do that. And it violates the hell out of 3401, which prohibits you or any other member of this body from giving directions on the day-to-day to any town employee. And I know that because I wrote the ordinance.
Well, maybe 3401 needs to be rescinded because it has no protection for people who violate the law on harassment, intimidation, and things like that, falsifying records, fraud, stealing. We as a body up here have our hands tied.
No, we as a body in here can do that. We can do that. We're the legislative body that has that authority, not you.
Again, sir, I apologize. This was misconstrued, okay? I was just trying to address a situation that I thought everybody was on board with, okay? Clearly, Mr. Saylor's upset. If I have been violated something, then I apologize.
Mr. Saylor will sue and put you in front of a judge to explain why he shouldn't issue an injunction if this happens again. That's what Mr. Saylor will do. We ran off enough good employees doing this. And we're doing our best to run off one of the best we've ever had.
I'm not running anybody off, Joe.
Really?
Okay, let's get back to the,
Richard, all I said is if you had just asked, come into my office and look at the stats put out every month of our crime stuff, we basically give a perception that crime's going on in your neighborhood by your ring camera. If that's a new, I'm confused. Ring cameras, if they can tell me when the criminal mischief is happening and when thefts are going on and stuff like that, then that's a good tool for our police department. I'd like to sign up for that. But it's not. And you got the perception, and when you say the perception that we're not in the neighborhood patrolling, obviously.
Mr. Shipp.
You weren't here when I first.
Perception.
You asked him not to interrupt
Okay.
you. Why don't you all
Well,
extend him
you're
the same
interrupting
courtesy?
me.
I am.
Okay.
I absolutely am.
Okay.
Extend him the same courtesy you demanded.
I was trying to explain to you before you wasn't here how I explained it. We are in conditions. It's been a year before we've had a major crime in the community. That shows that my guys are in there. I drill them all the time to be in the additions. Now, are they keen on parked cars? Lord, no. They're watching lights popping on stuff. They're doing this. We're handling 1,027 calls so far up to this day, this year. Now, that's a lot to handle when you're out at truck stops, you're dealing with them. You got warehouses to take care of. You guys are building everything. I make them patrol the additions. I get it. Like I explained, I get the ordinances leading forward. But there's a priority that comes first. Does the town want enforcement on parked cars? Or do they want safety and a safe town to live in and not have crime going on in the town? We will get to them parked cars if we get caught up. But all this that you're bringing towards me in writing, they've got a lot going on. Besides, we're at the first of the year. They've got 25 hours, 24 hours of mandatory training they have to do. So they've got to be on video watching training and stuff to get that into the night. And as I explained, 2 to 6 is the highest time for crime. Stats show it. And we will get them cars, but they're not our priority. Our priority is making us citizens of this town safe.
so Chief, do you have a suggestion on how to change the ordinance? Cause you said maybe we need to change it. Do you have any kind of
At this
suggestion?
moment, I haven't looked at it.
Would you take a look at it and,
Because, as I explained, Richard, my take on it, I understand the ordinance, but we work so hard to build rapport with the public. And when we go and tell them they gotta move their car, we write them a ticket for parking on the street, we've lost all rapport with that person. If a crime happens next door to them, and they see that crime happen, and we go to ask them, did you see it? Nope, you wrote me a ticket 2 weeks ago, I'm not telling you nothing. It takes our credibility away to solve crimes today. We're in the lower 90% on solving crime, and we get a lot of calls with the public. But this is just going out and wrecking our report. The way we were doing was trying to make contact with them. We'd leave a warning ticket on the windshield, hoping they'd call in. Then we tried to go over, and you said, and I appreciate you offering that, follow up later, we're running call to call right now. And parking right now just is not our priority. We do get to it, that's why, we have all the numbers here. Other tickets we were writing tickets before you called the meeting and gave me this directive, we were writing tickets. Don't smile at me, it's in here. You can't lie about data that comes from this, that we love. And that's what offended me so much. We were doing it, I told you, word to word, when you told me, brought it to my attention, I'd take care of it. We were taking care of it with the calls we was trying to keep up with. But then I get this, a meeting, I get this, into immediately take care of it with a follow-up email, making sure I was clear on the directive.
Sir, I mean, you know, my way I conduct business at work and stuff is I have a meeting and then I follow up as an email as a common courtesy to make sure everybody's on the same page. It's not intentionally this was not done intentionally to offend you in any way, but clearly it has. So, I'll take my lumps.
It would have been a lot, just send me an email straight up.
I genuinely thought I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Has anybody called you up and thank you? Hey, tell your police department, great job for keeping us safe. Has that ever happened?
I told you in our meeting that I'm very appreciative of what you do, sir.
Once I said that, didn't you say that?
I always commend you on your service, sir.
You have an answer for me. Nobody, right? They're just calling for parking.
Okay, I lost your point there.
he's asking if anybody's called you and said your police department's doing great. They've only called you about parking.
Said it on social media, I seen it the other day.
And if I can add, I mean, hey, Park Forest looks pretty darn good. And I haven't seen or heard any other, my wife's in attendance. She hasn't got phone calls about any other issues in other subdivisions. So, I appreciate what you've done.
I don't.
Well, Joe.
And it wasn't your place to tell them to do it.
Okay.
All right, that's,
Well, I have a motion on this, and that's.
What motion?
7202. 7203 deals with, snow and vehicles impeding snow removal or emergency vehicles. So that issue, it doesn't fall under 7202. And 7204 allows, towing of vehicles that are impeding those emergency services or tow trucks. And so I really don't know why we have 7202, and I really don't know why we are insulting our police department in this fashion over it. So that's my
your
motion.
motion is to repeal 7202.
Correct.
I don't know.
What are we gonna put in its place?
7202, it's time limit.
Deals with the other stuff.
Does it?
It deals with, snow and emergency stuff that you can't park on the street during.
Cause that's what I'm more concerned about.
And then 7204 deals with that the police can tow if it's, necessary.
So 7202 just states no parking from 2 to 5. 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
That's all it says.
Sign in my cul-de-sac, I see it all the time.
There's the last sentence about no parking or stopping on, a couple of streets, Main Street, Whiteland Road,
Oh.
North Front Street, so that last sentence may still.
I would leave that last sentence, because those.
So you're gonna, you wanna make it so everybody can park on the streets from 2 to 5?
Correct. Unless it's, an issue of snow removal or emergency stuff. This is an embarrassment.
Puts us in a bad position. If there's a problem where we can't get down the street, we have the authority to tow it.
What was that last sentence again?
It states, no parking or stopping shall be permitted along the following streets at any time except for local deliveries. Main Street / Whiteland Road, North Front Street, Paulingham Boulevard, and South Sawmill Road. Those are generally ones that are majors or have no pull-offs on the side.
So we probably have a couple of streets to add to that.
Since we've grown.
Yes.
Yeah, we probably should add
So-
that, but for the moment, my motion would be to strike all but that portion of 7202.
I've got a question.
Yep.
Since was Hummingbird, when the car lot went in, is to prevent the semi from
Right.
the carrier from
Right.
and going on to that.
That's 7205. So
Yeah.
that's covered.
That's the commercial vehicle ordinance.
I've not read the ordinance. I'm not gonna lie, I've not read it. I would feel more comfortable if we would take a step back, get this rewritten the way that we think, so have council rewrite it, bring it to us next month. Everything needs to be just on a level playing ground. It's gonna give everybody a little time to kind of understand where it's going. I was under the impression that Richard was going to talk to him. That's all, and Richard said I got, but I was always told, as a new council here, that I'm allowed to talk to any of them. I just can't tell them what to do on a day-to-day basis. I've called Carmen, I've called Slim, I've talked to Richard, I've talked to a lot of people. Your officers was in my addition the other day. I even pulled up and thanked him for doing a good job. I take time for that. I might not see you guys all the time, but I'm not up 24/7. Like I said, we appreciate you as a council, as a town. Is there some parking issues? There's parking issues everywhere. Do we need to address it and make a ordinance that protects both you guys and us as a town citizen? Yes. But I think right now, with it being so heated, I think we just need to step back, review the ordinance, make some changes, and then that's something that we all can come to agreement on and try to keep the peace up here. Because we are what represents the town. I do get calls a lot. Do I bother you guys with them? No. Richard asked me, you got cars? I said, I got a guy parking under a no parking sign all the time. I'm not going to lie about it. I have no reason to lie about it. But the townspeople call me. They come over to my house, just like the other night when you were over there. Guess who walked across the street first thing when I got home? Hey, did you know this? I said, yeah, this is an ordinance. I said, this is something that we're dealing with right now. So I am aware of it, and people do call me and text me because my door's open. It should be open as a representative of town. I think we all should be that way. We all appreciate everything you do. No one appreciates council. They don't. This is a hard job up here. We're just trying to do what's right for the community. We're not a politician. I'm definitely not. I'm not highly educated on all the laws. And yeah, I'm going to screw up. Richard, with this, might have, saying that. But we're all trying to do what's best for the community. I think what we need to do is, like I suggest, let's take time, redo this, and then figure it out.
I have no issue with continuing the motion to the next meeting.
If that would work for you guys, as the police force, as you, to work with you guys and do what's right for the community, plus you guys too.
So would you and Carmen get together? Yeah, but I want you to make sure that all the streets are in there, that they're not allowed, the main streets.
Can she give you a list of
Okay.
streets that you could add to
And
it?
then,
That's what I'm
then
suggesting.
you bring what you want to change it to the next meeting.
The only thing I have is the 2 to 5, that's all.
Yeah, it's just that list of streets is in the same section as the 2 to 5.
Okay, then
So,
Stephen.
If we're gonna strike the 2 to 5, we might as well add any other streets on here.
Yeah, Stephen, so could you rewrite the ordinance, striking out the 2 to 5, adding any streets that Carmen has come up with, and bring it to the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would save everybody and kind of give all our tempers the time to relax, because it's not good on none of us to stress or get mad at each other. It's not what we're intended to do. We're intended to make the right decisions for the town. I understand that you're passionate for your officers, and I understand that Richard's passionate for his people that he represents on his end of town, just like Joe, just like you guys. I get that. I just like to see us do it in a little calmer manner.
All right, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks for
I
all the
appreciate it.
stats. So,
Never anytime anybody wants it.
Did he write all that
Thank you
tab it
guys for
himself?
listening. I appreciate that.
I did not have
I saw there was a lot there. Okay, on to the next new business.
Are we gonna address the problem, or are we just gonna let it go? The building permit. We just gonna deal with that?
That's not on the agenda.
Okay, good enough. I'm happy. But I think he wants
Can I comment?
resolutions. Right.
Town hall roof replacement. I don't know, can we, Tyler, are you wanting to talk or not? Are you done?
No, it'll be at a later date.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, town hall roof replacement.
I just wanna make sure that if he wanted to talk, he needed to.
I appreciate that, thank you.
No problem, sir.
You all should have to do the side-by-side comparison.
Look off yours.
Well, we just took all of them and kind of stuck it into this form. I guess my question is, how do you know?
Yeah. Okay, so, when I look at SPG, the exterior's number 2, are we getting all of that in the other, construction costs?
They're all different.
I know, but
One of them's different.
this is a laid out one, and the other ones are just vague. I mean, are they going to haul away the material, or haul up and clean them, yeah. There were some things that were here that weren't here.
SPG, the top one, and then the second one, I'll go with the bottom part of it.
Okay. All right. So basic construction is going to do everything that the other two are going to do for 1995.
Correct.
And 28.
Basic construction.
Which my thought on that is they're gonna drive by this every day, and if people are like me, you're gonna see something that's gonna drive you nuts for the rest of your life. And so you're gonna wanna make it correct as much as possible.
The only concern I had with them was they only have 1 year contractor warranty for workmanship and materials, where the other ones have 5 year and 10 year. So that doesn't bother you?
No, because I think we would do whatever we,
Okay.
something like that.
Can you ask him about matching the warranty? I mean, that would be fair. Just call him and say, hey, we kind of
At least the
appreciate you doing
5 year.
this, but can you split the difference and do the 5 year like the other one, and then we get something for it?
I can ask them.
I mean,
Okay.
the worst you could say is no.
Does anybody?
I didn't catch exactly what you were saying, Sam, about seeing it and it being annoying. Were they talking about patching? Matching or
No, I'm
something?
just saying, like, they're just right here on the other side of the railroad tracks. They don't drive by here.
Oh, I understand. I misunderstood what you're saying. I understand now.
You're fine.
I get it.
So, how is this being paid? Is it being paid from insurance proceeds?
No, I tried to get it through there, but they said we're getting that in Cambridge.
Okay, so it's town funds
That'll
then?
be town.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever.
Slim, just a couple of comments. So,
Can you say, I'm sorry.
I had my roof replaced with Owens Corning. Had nothing.
They're the lowest, and unless they're not responsible.
So I don't know. I had 3 or 4 houses in my subdivision that had the same problem.
This one actually laid it out.
Spotting and so forth, so need to be careful of that. The sales rep, they wouldn't do anything,
So I think
come out and do anything.
probably doing that to get more, and stuff.
Basic construction,
Sometimes you put your foot in the door, it kind of helps.
GF, I had that before, pretty good shingle. Like Tim said, if you could match probably like the 10-year warranty, craftsmanship or stuff,
5 year.
or, well, maybe.
Because SPG has
5, 10, yeah,
years.
5 or 10, either one,
Yeah.
whatever you could ask for.
Better, I mean, it might be something to ask.
I said that, not Tim.
I would
I'm
agree.
sorry.
I laid shingles at one point in my life. Pouring is not a favored for me. Malarkey are those rubber impregnated ones. They're more expensive. They're hail resistant. The Timberlines were also great. I'm just happy sometimes Corning.
I think think the highest one that is kind of like a rubber.
Yeah. They're
It's
kind
a
of
new-
weird.
It's a new concept that they're pushing.
So are you wanting to go with basic then?
Yeah.
It's more affordable for the town, and if we're paying for it with
Right.
taxpayers' money, we should go for the most, especially the one
So do
if
I-
he's recommending.
Do I have a motion for anybody on here?
I'll make a motion.
Anything as far as quotes?
Well, that's what I was thinking about. This is going to be covered by the Public Works statute.
Right.
I'm pretty confident of that. And therefore, with the relatively low cost, we can just call and get quotes, which is apparently more or less what you did, right? You get 3 quotes from 3 providers. Yeah. And so I think on its face, it looks like we've complied with that.
Yeah, and we'd be taking the lowest.
And if we're taking the lowest responsive and responsible quoter in this case, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I was thinking.
So is there a motion for anybody?
I'll make a motion to accept basic constructions, quote on replacing the roof on the town hall.
Is that contingent on them extending the warranty, Tim?
Right. Well, regardless, it's still gonna save us a ton of money if they don't. I mean, and I'd rather save the taxpayer money than worry about an extra 4 or 5 years.
I guess I have a question on that one. Let's say they only will do it for like 2-3 years.
Whatever you can get.
Whatever you can get, if it's better than 1.
They should match at least 5.
And they probably will. But, I mean, he's just wanting to know if we're okay with that. If they say, no, we'll do 2.5, 3 years, then are we still okay with it? I mean, I'd rather do that versus pay, almost $7,000 more? I mean, that's a big chunk of change that can buy other stuff.
And you can fix the roof vent or something for a lot less than, so.
There you go.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call please.
Brown,
Yes, please.
Veronica Decker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Yes. Passed 5-0.
Did you mark down what time he walked in? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Slim.
Request to dispose of town assets.
So this one was also in your package. The majority of these items are the fire department. There were some excavation equipment that they had replaced, that was in a separate list of WFD's disposal list. And then they had electronics, all of which were pretty much, most of them were involved in the tornado. It's just for getting everything cleaned up. Besides those, the request to dispose of those items, the equipment, the extrication equipment, and then the electronics to be disposed, but we do have 3 vehicles. One is the rescue, which has been replaced by the heavy rescue. That was offered in an email, and I provided you in your package the email that was sent to all the fire chiefs that Chief Funkhauser sent out is the proper way to dispose of that type of equipment. There were nobody that indicated that they were interested in that piece of apparatus. So with that one can be sent to auction, right, Colin?
It can be sent to a broker company. We got some estimates back on that today. I'll bring that up.
So that would be our request for that piece of equipment, is to try to recover some of the money that we had expended when we bought the heavy rescue from Burgersville. And then on the other 2 vehicles, the water department, the 2000 Jeep Cherokee, and in the fire department, the 1998 GMC 2500. The GMC has become the home of quite a few mice nests and all kinds of critters throughout the years, and it is inoperable, so request to just dispose of that one. And then the Jeep Cherokee is kind of in the same spot. I think at one point we were using a milk crate for a seat. So request to remove those vehicles from our inventory and such, and then send the rescue off to see if we can recoup any of those dollars. So I've asked for a motion to dispose of the items, the fire department extrication equipment items, and computers, electronics, And then on the 2 vehicles that are no longer operable, and then you send the rescue off to recoup some funds.
Okay, does anybody have any objections?
I'll make such a motion.
I don't have none.
Huh?
I don't have none. Joe, give it.
Second?
I'll second it. How's that?
Roll call?
Joe and Tim?
Joe and Tim.
Yes, ma'am.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Taylor. Richard Hill,
Yes?
pass 5-0.
Okay, next item on the agenda is review of tax abatement of compliance for ABC LLC.
Right back.
Well, it's that tax abatement compliance season has started up again, and this is our first compliance statement that we have received. And, yeah, here we go. And it's from ABC LLC, also known as Warrior Trail LLC. And they are in their third year of tax abatement. And their actual assessed value, well, their estimated assessed value when they applied for it, they didn't fill anything in, and the town didn't enforce that. And they also estimated, or no estimate of employees was given, and no estimated salary for employees was given. But all that said, their actual value for paid 2026 taxes improvements is $1,836,000. And when you combine that with the land value, it's $3.2 million. And the estimated cost of their project, they did fill that in on their original application, was $4.6 million. Their actual cost is $4.6 million. And they have actual number of employees at 71. And an actual average salary of almost $71,000. And my recommendation is to find them in substantial compliance. It's your decision. You need to make a motion. If you don't find them in substantial compliance, then we need to, well, if you want to hear more information, you need to call a special meeting and invite them to provide more information. But if you want to say that they're not in substantial compliance, then you can make that determination by a motion, and we'll have to give notice to them and hold a public hearing at our next meeting. So, it's up to you what you want to do.
Why would we not,
In my opinion,
they're not late or anything?
nope.
Okay, so,
There's nothing on its face that would indicate that they are not.
They've been one of our best.
right, I agree.
And if I may ask, do we send out reminders, or it's their responsibility to create these?
It is their responsibility to create these, but we do also send out reminders because, and we've had this experience, as you may recall,
Yeah.
where they haven't done it, it's become late, and we've become aware of it, or they've brought it in late, and we have to follow a procedure to waive the non-compliance, et cetera, and it just causes more work and cost.
Thanks for doing that. Then I move to accept and be in substantial compliance with our directives.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, so I have Brad Godecker of motion, Joe Saylor second, to find ABC LLC in compliance. Call?
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Taylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yeah.
pass 5-0.
Thank you. Dedication, acceptance and maintenance bonds for Redwood Sanitary Sewer.
So this, Redwood subdivision, which is just less than 31 south of Whiteland Road, the only piece of infrastructure that we will be requesting to be dedicated and accepted to the town is the sanitary sewer. White Construction has completed the installation of the sanitary sewer for Redwood Apartments, and they're ready to request dedication to the town. The town has completed the inspection and testing, and it's, again, ready to be accepted. The maintenance bonds, I gave you a memo today, because the maintenance bonds were just delivered yesterday, so those have been sent over to Stephen for review, along with the maintenance agreement. I'm requesting that the town council dedicate and accept pending legal review So Stephen can make sure that they've dotted their i's and crossed their t's. And just that this will, for your acceptance of the infrastructure, then come into the town.
I have a question. We're gonna accept this before the job's done, before the roads are all done, the entry's done and all that. We're taking
No, that's not what we're
the
talking
bond
about.
starting in instead of waiting until they get the construction all done, the job done. So I was just curious, cause I've never,
Redwood's right
Just
over
the
there.
sanitary, and the sanitary is in a separate easement that is not under the road, I understand, right?
well, some of it would be, yeah. But I'm just saying, it just seems kind of weird because we're accepting something before the job's done to get their maintenance bond started. That way they get, you know what I mean? Cause you're still gonna have truck traffic in there. Still gonna have dozers in there.
So why are we doing this before then?
So in order for them to go vertical, they have to have bonds in place, and the work is done. The
But they gotta have
sanitary
water
is in the
too.
ground.
They gotta have water too, right? To
Their
go
vault's
vertical.
done and that is private, so their vault is up by.
So,
West.
yes, so they're doing, so we require them for the permit to go vertical is we require them to have sewer and water hookups and stuff like
They
that.
have to have their bonds in place for the infrastructure they're planning to put in. Now, they can post a performance bond, but that has to be 125% of the estimated construction cost. Whereas if they get the infrastructure in, they just have to post a performance or a maintenance.
Correct.
And then a maintenance bond is 25% of the actual construction costs, of which is what their bond that they've requested. So you can do either or. They can do it as performance if they haven't completed the work, or they can go ahead and post a maintenance bond after that portion of the infrastructure has been completed. So you don't have to wait for all of the infrastructure to be done. But again, this is the only portion that's coming to the town. They will own the sewers, they'll own the water, the storm, the roads, and all of that.
Okay, well, my concern is, if they get this, are we gonna issue building permits before that subdivision's done, that entrance is done?
No.
Okay, cause that would be a concern, bringing trucks in.
I take that back. You can go vertical before, but we can't issue a C of O. You can't issue the C of O until they have proper, the roadways finished. They still need to expand Whiteland Road, yeah.
Right, that's what I was concerned about, it breaking down the road with all the trucks coming in with all the framing materials and stuff like that. Cause I come through there today and Wise backing up traffic, getting a low boy out, backing up on 31, or Whiteland Road, backing all the way up out on Whiteland Road to take a low boy out, which I understand, construction's construction, we have to do that. I was just curious if, are we gonna let them go vertical before they get that drive done and get something to protect our road right through there?
They have to repair the road. They have to fix the road, and they have to add a turn lane.
Correct.
Heading east, they're putting in a turn lane. Heading west, they're putting in a left turn lane. So they still need to make those improvements. They're waiting on the utility company so they're planning to post a performance bond because the work is not done. But whether they could post a performance bond and still be able to go vertical because that's what our ordinance says.
I was just
But
curious.
they can't have a C of O, certificate of occupancy, until everything is satisfactory, making sure public safety can get in there, making sure that, new residents won't be,
Cause that would be my concern, if they're going vertical, we have to get a fire truck in there. Is that road gonna hold up, that gravel?
fire truck in there now.
Right.
I mean, if we do, we.
Right, and that's my concern is, and especially if there's buildings there with the wind blowing and stuff, it's not being able to get a fire truck back here off of that gravel road, cause number 2s are rough to ride on. They will bury that fire truck pretty quick. Okay.
So sanitary or sewer is only publicly dedicated infrastructure?
That's how Redwood normally does it in all the areas too. All they use is just really the sewer, and the rest of it's just all private, which is good for us.
So they get their water from Indiana American?
No, they get it from us. We're master metered.
Yeah, there's a vault near Whiteland Road that has the meter in there.
So how do we not own it then?
The meter.
We own up to the meter, and then after that,
Okay,
they
gotcha.
take care of it. There's a main break, Slim goes out, he could shut their meter off on the backside and say, fix your leak.
They have a 6-inch meter, and then however they divvy that out amongst.
Got it. Okay.
Most apartment complexes, we love it when they do it that way.
I'll go to, subject to legal counsel's review and, approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Gooddecker.
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Taylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
that's 5-0.
Okay, Director of Administration and Operations, we've received your reports. Do you need to talk about anything on them?
I just want to add, just a couple more things on mine. Adam's donation was early that the sewer asset management plan is complete. So once we kind of circle back on our capital project improvement list, be prepared for us to come to you with the project that we've been discussing for quite a few years on the sewer treatment plant. And then the other thing that that Adam and I have been conversing about is just, again, with everything that's happening at the State House, when it comes to how local municipalities receive their funds. We have looked at, we will be starting the 2026 budget sooner rather than later, so getting with department heads to kind of identify their needs and kind of, looking at just depending on how the impact all shakes out with SB1, and then there's a couple other pieces of legislation that are all kind of taking on local government units. We also have some opportunities, as Adam had mentioned, to kind of combat any reductions that we have. The one other thing, like on SB1, the big things that I have taken out of this is obviously the big focus is on the reduction in property taxes for residents and for that, but they are looking to remove business personal property tax altogether. So that could be huge for us, especially with all of these warehouses that have double-digit millions of dollars of inventory out there. In addition to how fast we can grow, they have also, as Adam mentioned, the no excess levy appeal, but are kind of like the give here, because the Senate had no give, but the House has come back and said, we can look at income tax. So, then they put it back on the locals to kind of be the bad guys when it comes to where we can recapture some of those dollars so our services aren't affected. Another House bill, this is House Bill 1427. It's another pick on the local communities as far as a reduction in our cable franchise fees that we receive. The town only receives about $22,000, but hey, that's $22,000 by 25%. Again, we're just gonna have to get a little bit smarter with our dollars and get creative, but I'm confident that Adam can help us do that. I did share with you the HR assessment. I'm going to just ask that you guys review that and come back next month and make some decisions on how you guys would like to proceed. This was brought on Invigorate HR to kind of do an initial assessment of what we're doing, how we're doing it. The major things that came out of that is that when it comes to HR at the town, we're primarily just working on tactical tasks and don't have a strategy on how to help our hiring managers, how to help with coaching when we have employee performance issues, things of that nature. It's a lot to go over, and be open if anybody has any questions. But that is one thing that they did come back and provided us with a very thick booklet. And I narrowed it down just into a couple pages, like 4 pages, on their recommendations. I did kind of put what I thought would be good too, that we could take care of internally, but that there is still definitely an opportunity to have a hybrid approach and have Invigorate help. And I think one of the things that Tim had stressed is we need a place for the employees to go when there's an issue with a supervisor or anything of that nature. But I think that goes both ways for our hiring managers or our department heads to make sure that they have the right tools in their toolbox when they need to have a conversation with an employee that may not be performing, and how do we put them on a performance improvement plan, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot to cover there. I won't go into any more details tonight, but just take a look at that, and then I'm available for any questions, Melissa will be as well. And then we can kind of come back with a plan for a strategy for next month.
I'd like to meet with you on some of those
Yeah.
things.
Absolutely, and they're just suggestions, they're not saying it's happening.
No,
So that's all I.
Hey, Carmen, on that, do we, for confidential issues and stuff and conversations, do we have potentially a area that could be
That's
a
one of the
place
things
of,
That's one of the things that, so what they recommended is that our individual that is currently, even just doing the tactical tasks, so onboarding, offboarding, handling any kind of employee benefits, that they have a secure and private space. Just because somebody coming into where this person sits now and saying, I need to add a dependent, I need to remove a dependent, and there's not it's an open space. So just even a simple conversation like that, we need to protect the person that's coming in and asking for that change to their benefits or addition to their benefits without other people hearing the conversation. And like I said, when it comes to, I don't like my boss today or something like that, that's where I feel like a relationship with Invigorate could still be appropriate, or definitely would be appropriate, or if the supervisor says, I don't like my employee today. Those kinds of things, so to kind of have that coaching and training for our employees and then our department heads as well. So I think there's a lot to consider. The one thing that I did say to Jeremy with Invigorate is that this open-ended hourly rate doesn't usually work with our council. We want a project-based kind of approach, and so I will bring that back to you all next month. The big thing that we need to handle initially is the employee handbook and working with the department heads. We kind of had a draft of something that was a complete overhaul. But we need to make sure that we're addressing what the police need, what the fire need, as well as what the town needs, and then what the town council wants. So this is all, your guys' decision on how you would want to proceed with the relationship. But that's kind of my plan, is to come back with, these are the projects that we've identified, this is our prioritization, and then how would we obviously pay for it, but to come back to you all and say, where would you like us to go next? So.
Okay. Department head report. Chief, are you done talking? No? Come on back up.
I just got a couple. Thanks for the roof quotes, because my office is collapsing. The roof.
I believe it.
No, it's not. My poncho's still in there, and I appreciate the roof. I have, we went to a new phone system, and I got some worries on that. We switched over to a new phone company.
Well, it's still in transition.
It's in transition, but first we come in, we didn't know it was happening. And our phones, didn't have phone service for 3 days at the police department. That's pretty.
So the non-emergency line wouldn't ring?
Nothing was working. Luckily, we was able to contact dispatch and let them know that, and they took our calls for the weekend. But we're still trying. We've never sat in a meeting to tell them how to set up. We was requesting a recorded line, because we've got to have a recorded line coming into the police department. That's still, is that?
I believe it is recording now, but I believe that anyone who has the ID login has access to all those recordings. And some of them do have confidential information on them, so it needs to just be the police department. I don't know if that step's been remedied yet, but the other spots have. I have access to it. It is recording incoming and outgoing calls. But the access part still needs to go.
Still have some concern about it being a police department. We need to have our phones up and I'm working on no comments addressing it.
Well, and that's where, Rick, that could be a conversation that you and I
Right.
have with your concerns.
That's-
So I don't know that it's a council.
Well,
I mean, I understand like your concerns, but
yeah, because I would have been nice to do the initial meeting, so I know what we have to have set up. I agree. I'm just addressing that, one of my concerns. The other concern is, we're going past 2 years. Our police department's still pumping gas, standing in water or mud, hooking jumper cables up to a battery, pumping fuel. It's not safe. We've already, had one person burn his hand a little bit because the cable shorted out or it come loose. And I just would like an update when that's gonna get fixed, because it's just not a safe situation to be pumping gas and you got parts, you put cables on and.
That's part of this street garage rebuilding?
Yep. They said that they're coming in to do something here real soon, right?
And I understand, yeah, getting the electricity run here, I'm just bringing it.
I think it was on the bottom somewhere, wasn't it?
Town hall, let's see, no, street garage, looked at plans for the locations where soil testing will be completed, met with the designer, starting on the design of the building. So I'm sure as soon as they get that all taken care of, then the electricity can be ran to do the,
I got a question. Slim, is that a 110 pump?
No, they're set up for batteries.
Okay, so,
It'd be just like one you put in your pickup.
right, it's one we use to fill up heavy equipment and stuff when we carry them on the back of our trucks. So, were the old pumps 110? Or have they always been a battery?
No, the old pumps were electric.
And when we redo this building, we're gonna buy new pumps and everything, which will be 110 pumps, is what he said.
We gotta put the fob and all that stuff up in.
Is there not something that we could do temporarily to set some batteries out there or something in a building that we could run a cord where they could just flip a switch and put a trickle charger on them? That way they don't have to hook the cables up, because.
That's the problem, there's no power
Right, and I understand that, but trench in a 110 line is not that. It's not that difficult. If you get a little trencher, knife it in or something, or even if we run it on. I'm just trying to figure out what could help get the situation.
somebody wired into the trailer. The trailer would go away.
Right, but I'm just saying if we took it from the electric, what's at the barn now, I'm just asking. Like I said, just to see if there's anything we could speed it up for you, to help you out, to at least can get his concerns taken care of, but get you guys where you're not have to worry about that right away, Slim. You got time to get your building built and then get the wire put in and then change over to, and that's the only thing I was thinking. It just kind of buy time for both sides. It was just something I was curious about.
And then when they do get electricity running out there, you could get a 300 or something, up over the pumps, that's like a knife and like that.
That's what I said. Thank you.
thank you.
Chief.
Colin Yocum, representing the fire department tonight. I don't think it was on the agenda. It's not on the agenda. I don't know why we got it.
I was told that it was on the agenda.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Colin Yocum, the deputy fire chief. I'm filling in for Chief Honkasler this evening. He does apologize for missing the last 2 meetings. The first meeting that he missed, he had an engagement that he could not step out of. And this time, he is on vacation, which, given everything he's gone through the last 7 months, I think we can all agree that he deserves some time away to relax. So I'm filling in his stead. I have a small package here just for everybody to look at, to keep yourself on track for the first visual thing we will.
Is this trash?
Discuss.
Yeah, it's trash. Thank you, sir.
I thought the whole thing was one thing.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, it just breaks it down.
No, I meant all of that.
Oh, yeah, no. Thanks, sir.
You've got an extra.
I thought the
I'm serious, even though you got cold.
Yes, sir.
bunch of
I've been
million.
bits, I think I'd kill it.
The majority of this discussion, is to ask, to discuss, the potential of a new fire apparatus as well as a couple new vehicles, staff vehicles. I believe it was dabbled in slightly.
They were individual conversations.
Okay. So this is really just the first time it's been brought up. Chief Funkhauser and I have been looking at attempting to replace our primary engine. The company that we have found to do that is a company called Spencer. They're out of Michigan. They currently have what are called stock units. The difference between a stock unit and a custom chassis is just that custom chassis take a lot more time. These stock units are already on the line. This specific one that we are looking at is almost completed. There were a few things that if we are able to proceed, that we would like to add. And we have the ability to do that at a lower cost than what a complete build from top to bottom, front to back would be. Typically a front to back, top to bottom build with this company specifically, as well as numerous manufacturers. We're well over $1 million at this point, especially going into 2026 because it's releasing an engine. So regardless of no change at all, the bare minimum change would be at least $100,000 increase given their new engine that they have sized up to. This specific engine is, like I said, it's a stock unit, so it would be $674,500 as it sits right now. We have the ability to make some modifications that would better suit our needs. It's a solid truck as it sits, but there's no shelving in it, there's not a lot of storage on the internal cab of the truck. Little nooks and crannies that we would like to fill with things that we don't currently have on either of our engines now. Those upgrades that we looked at come up to about $75,750 additional dollars to completely outfit that engine with new equipment so that if it does have to have service for either preventative maintenance or other issues over time, we don't have to swap and be out of service for longer. Currently, as it stands, we have to take everything but our fire hose and move it over to our reserve engine that we are currently in right now. It's our primary reserve shop. So to do that would be, the equipment comes up to $36,803, and then to put all the fire hose and nozzles so that we don't have to move hose every time, which is a very tedious process. It takes about 2 hours total, is $60,000. So the entire grand total for that engine would be $847,043. Again, that is essentially a custom built truck. It's just already done because it was already on the line. I did speak with Spencer Manufacturing today. They do have other trucks on the line because that was brought up. The difference between those trucks that are on the line and the truck that we are currently looking at, one of the biggest factors is the hose bed height, which you can see. That hose bed is significantly lower than most hose beds. The reason we like that is it reduces injuries from having to step out of our air pack and all of our equipment on and grab that large diameter hose. The 5-inch hose, the biggest hose that we use for water supply. Cuts down on injuries, and it just makes overall ease of operations easier. You'll also notice there's a small little circle with some yellow tape on it. That specific discharge, typically our discharges in the truck are way up at the front and we lose some hose length because of that. This truck is built differently and those are at the end of the hose bed, so we gain that extra hose length and we don't have to buy extra hose to fill that gap that we would normally have to do. This truck is a phenomenal truck, and again, to harp on the cost, $847,000 for equipment and everything out the door is pretty remarkable for right now. Again, a custom built chassis from Pierce, Spencer, Rosenbauer, Sutphen, any of the apparatus manufacturers, we are talking bare minimum of $1 million to start. And we're able to fulfill this because it's considered a stock unit, so it's lower price, just because they make it with the intent that it could sit there for a while. They don't know if they have a buyer.
Like a demo car.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. There is one other department, that I spoke with Spencer today. They said there is one other department that is actively looking at that truck as well. So in a way, we're limited. He did say there are more low hose bed trucks coming down the line, but we're at least a year out. With our current engines that we have, they're not gonna survive a year. The one for sure will not. The other one that's currently in the shop getting the engine replaced, not completely replaced, but repaired, it needs about $34,000 worth of repairs to it. The goal would be to get this new engine, put that one into reserve status so that we can get another 5 to 7 years out of it. Otherwise, we're gonna end up having to buy 2 engines in a very short matter of time. Because we have to have 2 engines at all times. That way if one goes down, we can't not provide fire suppression. We are currently, like I said, in engine 72. The staff vehicles that are on there that Chief and I discussed are to replace the fire marshal's vehicle, which is a 2013 Ram. And these are just, we had discussed Tahoes, this was the pricing that was given by Kelly Chevrolet today. This is what they just have on their lot. They have some 2024s and some 2025s. But it would replace his vehicle, replace my vehicle, as well as Chief Funkhauser's vehicle. And then we would put Chief Funkhauser's vehicle into a status of either a backup squad for when the squad goes down, because it happens. It was just out of service last week. And then to use it if our employees need to go to class, or essentially if we lose a vehicle, we don't have it back. So we're trying to make sure that we have the ability to have.
Can I ask why a Tahoe?
Simply because a lot of these are built for fire departments, no different than how they can spec them for police. These ones are specific built for fire departments. They're the non-pursuit package. They're more custom made for fire. Kelly Chevrolet specifically builds a lot of public safety, and they build them that way. There has been discussion of maybe looking at a truck for Jason, just because he carries tools and evidence and things like that, which would be a little bit cheaper, but Kelly Chevrolet wasn't able to provide me with that this evening.
So when there's a fire, who's ever at the firehouse don't all ride the fire truck?
Yes, ma'am, they do. However, Chief Funkhauser and I, because we have take-home vehicles, we do not have a battalion chief. Most departments in this county, at least full-time departments, all have battalions. Those battalions are your incident commanders. That is mine and Chief Funkhauser's job. We respond from home. Chief Funkhauser lives down in Franklin, and I live just right off Horseville Road, so we're both within 5 to 7 minutes of our response area. We cover that. And if Chief Funkhauser and I cannot, Jason typically fills that void with him living in district off of Palm. That is the guys, so we staff 3 people a day, 24 hours a day, right? They all either get on the engine, the ladder, or the rescue, or the tank, or the squad, whichever apparatus is dispatched. But if it's a residence fire, a building fire, a vehicle accident with people trapped, things like that, or happens quite frequently, we hit multiple calls within a short period of time. If they're on another call, then that falls to either myself, Chief Funkhauser, or Jason, and we fill that void and respond in those instances if either mutual aid is not started or other mutual aid is also not available.
I've got a question. How many miles are on these vehicles?
Jason's vehicle has just shy of 100,000. Mine is about 65,000, and Chief Funkhauser's probably not even close to 20. It's I believe his is a 2022, so it's really new.
What do you have?
I have a 2015 Durango.
And you're saying Chief Funkhauser's only got 20,000 miles on it?
If that. Again, he bought his shortly after COVID happened. We found one at Fletcher that he hopped on. We grabbed that because he was in my vehicle actually. And then we got rid of a different vehicle.
So which one are you wanting to recirculate to you?
Chief Funkhauser. Oh, no, to recirculate to me.
He wants all 3 new.
We are trying to get 3 new.
That's why I'm asking, what are we gonna do with these 3, what you're wanting to replace? You said you wanted 1 to put back for the firehouse for in case you guys gotta go to class. That's why I was asking which one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
That's fine. I'm just curious. I'd assume it's Funkhauser's with that 20,000 miles.
Correct, yes, sir.
And then the other ones you're gonna trade in?
in case one of the
Yes,
other
we
ones.
can. The
Being
problem
worked
is
on.
mine and Jason's have quite a few issues. There are quite a few electrical issues with mine. If it's not ran in 24 hours, it dies to where I then have to get under my passenger seat, disconnect the battery, reconnect it, and reset the whole car. There are numerous lighting issues. Most of my emergency lights, other than my light bar and my front and rear strobes, don't even work anymore. Jason's got some moisture issues and electrical issues in his vehicle as well. So short of ripping out all the emergency equipment, I don't know ultimately what's wrong with the vehicles that have been that way for quite some time.
But I can't understand because we've got to get rid of them. I mean, we're not just going to let them sit there and rot away. So my point is, we got to get something for them. I mean, in a maintenance program. That's what I'm curious is why haven't we worked on these with our mechanics or anything like that and stayed up on this? Because this is a concern that we're wanting to buy new trucks, and if we're not getting the maintenance proper our old trucks, why do we want to keep buying new trucks and throwing them into a rotation? What's getting left out? That was my concern.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. We, as it stands right now, do not have a preventative maintenance program in place. I agree completely that we need one. As it stands right now, basically, things break, we make a phone call, and it gets dealt with in the fashion that it gets dealt with is the hand we've been dealt at the moment.
We don't have just a basic preventive maintenance for oil, tires, brakes, and things like that?
Not to my understanding.
Are you serious, really? We
You don't take
have-
them to the oil change place, or?
The last time I took mine to
All of our
Jim.
maintenance has gone through the town.
Oh, okay, so you have the town,
I mean, we call and.
you do
basically-
replace the oil.
Yes, ma'am, like the last time I took mine to Jiffy Lube, because at the time, Vince was so backed up with things that he couldn't get to it, so.
Right.
We paid the extra cost and we took it to Jiffy Lube, I know Chief Moncasser's done the same thing.
Okay,
Has anybody, Carmen, and like I said, I'm just curious, has anybody checked with like Jiffy Lube if they offer a commercial discount for these trucks to help you guys along? Because I know you don't have the room to do much over there without the tornado and stuff and without lifts and stuff. Have you guys checked with them about a commercial account where we could send these cars out when it's due to get them done? That they could take care of the oil like in your car and stuff like that and all the other cars, or have you guys ever checked on that? I do know they offer one. So
I've never checked on it.
it's just a thought. Cause I know, you're only one person. You guys can only do so much.
We'll use Byron quite a bit for like the police vehicles.
Byron, yeah.
Yeah, Byron, yeah.
So to try to keep it local, but I think it's Amazon trucks, you see them all there parked in the Dollar Tree, Jiffy Lube,
Right.
area, so.
And I have talked to Funkhauser a couple times about sitting down on a maintenance plan, and it's never happened.
I think we just need to figure it out. We need to work together. I mean, I keep hearing from this whole meeting today is there's so much bumping heads going on. And it's just, as the council, I'm drained. And I'm not even a politician. I'm just him, and I'm drained. So I think what we need to do is we need to come to agreements where we all can work together and do what's correct. And if it's something that you guys got to sub this out to get these serviced properly, then that's something what's got to be considered. Because we need these trucks. We can't spend all this money on stuff and not take care of it. And changing oil, changing brakes, and changing stuff. That's why I brought up in the last meeting, a few meetings back, I think that if we're going to do this in-house, then we need to be a licensed mechanic. We need to pay the extra money if we're going to maintain this. We need to have someone that's going to have a list and take care of these as they go. And that's just my thought, but we need to really stay up on the maintenance. I'm very big about maintenance on stuff.
Okay, so what Chief Funkhauser wants is a geo bond.
We'd like to look at a geo bond if possible.
Adam, if you could speak to this. Chief says that the fire department could qualify for 2.5 million. Yes, please. Now, he's not asking for 2.5 million, but we did the geo bond a couple years ago, and because our net assessed value had risen so much. and we were losing too much tax money. But when we get that money, it goes back and pays for the capital outlays that they purchased with the GEO bond. So you're saying the fire department can do a GEO bond?
Yes, ma'am. So the kind of the needs and priorities aside, just looking at the opportunities, there's really two just direct options. One would be a general obligation bond from the fire district in this case, because they uniquely have their own debt limit, separate and unique from the town.
Right.
Which is an advantage. And they currently have no bonds outstanding against that limit.
Right.
And so it's approximately the $2.5 million today. So if we take those amounts, estimate the soft cost, you'd be somewhere in the order of magnitude of about 70% or so utilization of that limit. Okay. The benefits with the new bond is in current state law, you would also get the new debt levy via the new tax rate. That would create a new dedicated revenue source for the town, for the fire department to repay that specific apparatus or set of equipment. That's obviously a very big benefit. The other option, option two, is a lease. And not a traditional operating lease like a rental or anything like that. It's a lease in form. It's really a vehicle loan in structure. The town still receives title at the end of the period. It looks and feels just like a bond. You have payments, you have those types of things. The difference is with it being a lease versus a bond issuance, you don't get that mechanism of the new debt levy.
Right.
So,
but you have to pay the lease out of your pocket.
Bingo.
So the GEO bond, you don't.
Correct.
It pays its own payment.
GEO bond, you're exactly right. GEO bond creates its own dedicated revenue to pay the loan payments. You get the new expense and the new revenue. The lease, you get no new revenue. You have to pay that from existing.
Right. And we don't want that because we don't want the town having to pay for
Makes total sense.
this stuff.
So those are your options. And I would say it's realistically about a 60 to 90 day process. And typically, I don't know that specific manufacturer, but a lot of times we'll have seen it like the orders can be written like subject to financing or subject to close, payment at closing.
Are they willing to do that?
Yes, ma'am. So on your second page is the actual contract for that specific apparatus.
Okay. Have you seen it, Adam?
I think I've seen I think I may have seen the initial estimates per email, but I don't know if I have.
The contract?
Adam, can you give me a wild ballpark? So with this creating the new revenue stream and levy, my understanding of the direction of the property tax, whatnot, this would not result in an increase in property tax. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, what we would try to do is size this to where your overall tax rate is essentially neutral. That would be
Right.
under current state law. Even if everything in State House goes through, that further kind of caps that.
If I remember correct, Joe, the GEO bond that we did for the town was like, raise the levy 1 cent.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you remember that?
The levy will go up, but all that would, what I'm concerned about is that the property tax rate, the effective property tax rate does not increase. In this case, it might not decrease as fast
Right.
as it otherwise would.
Right.
But what I'm concerned about is the numbers showing that it would not increase.
Understood, yeah. Everything we would do would be to try to size it where it would be
Right.
Less than or equal to existing rate.
Right.
Perfect.
And one other thing I should mention, when we think about this is, when we looked at the capital improvement plan, the other thing we observed was that there's a ladder that is nearing replacement as well. It was noted in the original plan we looked at is like 2029. So one of the scenarios we are considering, to the extent we can fit it all in with that tax rate guidance, would be terming the bond in such a way that it ends so
And then that one-
same resource can knock. So you can essentially get two birds with one stone,
Right.
two pieces of equipment with one funding source.
Right. Because I think the town's thinking about theirs too.
So where you essentially would have the means to proceed with this apparatus now, if that's the will of council, and then you could term it in such a way that it's at least trying to also mature at a point in time where that 2029 ladder would be drop shipped and ready for repayment.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sir, just a couple questions. So, I just got this packet like a few minutes ago. So I usually don't make decisions of $1 million like the same night. So, I do have some question. So from a standpoint of safety for the town and what you provide services for, are we in jeopardy that we cannot do that? Do we have other options present day that if we choose to like digest this and come back, we're not jeopardizing anybody's safety in the town, right? Or are we?
Our two engines currently are on the brink of not operating correctly. Again, our
But
primary.
they're functional. Are they functional or not functional?
Not well, no.
Not well?
No, sir.
One's getting an engine.
I mean,
Well,
the
the one-
current,
yeah,
the
we-
current engine that we are in has failed pump testing. It's just the only option we have.
Okay,
Engine 71, the engine has already been replaced once. Again, it's now getting $33,000 worth of work on it. It'll still be out for at least another 20 to 30 days. Except for coming right now. The problem is with this specific, it's not a problem, this specific truck, if it is approved by you tonight, what we would like to do is just at least lock it in. The problem is, if it disappears, we are at least a year out before we are gonna be able to get a usable fire apparatus if either of our engines fall apart tomorrow, which I cannot tell you will not happen. All of our trucks are falling apart.
okay. And Adam, you said you kind of run the numbers, but do you, and I don't have my packet, was that included in the packet?
No.
All your analysis to where
No.
we could read, so
No, I did not.
is that available to possibly look at before, is there something to look at, tangible, something I can
I
see?
can verbally talk through, I can pull it up on my laptop and talk about it right now. And we've got the different options, otherwise we would need to prepare something specific for it.
Just a reminder, this has been on our capital improvement list for a few years now, since we put this together, since we initially put one together with all the department's needs for a capital improvement list. And this has been kind of a reoccurring, when the town of Whiteland took on the fire department, I say take on, but when the fire department came underneath the town of Whiteland, we were already had beyond its life, beyond the asset life for the apparatus, all of it. So we already took on old equipment and we're just replacing equipment or adding equipment, even the ladder trucks that we purchased from the city of Greenfield. It was already beyond its asset life, but with the buildings that we had, we felt that we needed to make a commitment to our citizens and to our property owners to ensure that if we have a situation at the warehouses that we have the right apparatus. And then adding the heavy rescue again, it's not the best of the best, it's not the newest of the new, but it's something that just to kind of get us by and move us up just a little bit. But this is one thing that the fire department, with the understanding of coming underneath the town, not that the county to solve all their problems, but this has been a repeated kind of conversation that these trucks are on their last leg. And unfortunately, they cost so much to replace that it's a huge expenditure. It is in the internal meetings we've had on the capital improvement list. This was identified as our top three. If Adam asked Richard, myself, and Slim, if we had 3 projects that we wanted to get started this year, what would those 3 be? And he asked us each individually, and we all said the fire truck. So it is important. I know I reached out to each of you last month, and then the concern was we just didn't know where we sat financially with reconciliations and such. So that's why there's just been kind of a little bit more of a delay. But is it an opportunity we can't pass up? I would say it'd be nice to be able to make a commitment to these guys that are running on 20 years plus equipment.
So I know we talked about a month and a half ago. At present, do you have a financial outlook concern that's different than Adam's analysis?
No, I think for us, the big thing was the opportunity with us coming under, with the fire department coming underneath the town, is they maintained their own tax rate. Now, is it enough to run the department how it needs to be ran? No. But we are very unique, all across the state with having our own tax rate for the fire department. And so I think for that and their ability to bond up to 2.5 million, the only thing that kind of stinks with that is all the soft costs that go along with bonding. But hey, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, but.
And to piggyback on Joe, so the risk level of this kind of expenditure, 1 to 5 being high level, 1 being no, where do you think, what's your professional opinion based on what you said, the bonds, the lease, risk, and factoring in the reconciliation issue that is ongoing for a while? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. I'll start with the reconciliation issue because I think that was a reason to pause. But as we stand here tonight, we're essentially done with that exercise, and it's the variances that are left for December 2024 immaterial. So basically, we can ignore that from the decision standpoint. Between the bond and the lease, but once you get over the additional soft costs of the bond, the advantages are pretty clear. I mean, it creates a funding source for this truck and a future ladder. Where the risk then comes in is really more uncertainty. As we sit here today, we have the guidance to try to maintain a tax rate, but we won't have those numbers final until August of this year. So that's just the reality. There's nothing we can do. We can try to estimate that and forecast that as conservatively as we possibly can today. But the reality is these payments would go into effect 2026 at the earliest, and those assessed values and budgets aren't even set yet. And we won't even know what those are sort of.
And they're gonna go up again.
Yeah, and so we can estimate that, right? And we can do our best to hedge that, to keep it within that guidance. And if at any point, this would be subject to either the lease or the bond, would be subject to council review, so you would see all the documentations and all that you could have to.
Do you feel comfortable with the price he's saying, 874,000, and maybe 2 cars, not 3?
Yeah.
That wouldn't even get us to $1 million.
Yeah, I have 2 sort of responses to that. One would be, we have done 3, I have personally financed 3 fire apparatus in the last 90 days. All of them are significantly more expensive than what you're discussing.
I know they do a good job of trying to get us the best cost.
So, you know, the other thing I would say is, what is also true, but I can also validate, is if you were to do a custom build order, that 1 to 2 year lead time is real. I mean, we saw that really coming out of COVID, and that is real. So those would be 2 reasons to say, hey, there's something here. And I don't drive a fire engine for a living, so that's just purely on the math. The other thing I would say is, it was pretty clear coming out of the priority meeting that this is a priority. And I would tell you at this point, like, the staff vehicles are the staff vehicles. I'll defer to you all to debate on that, but it's hard to debate the prioritization of fire. So, you know, at this point in time, sort of regardless of what the tax rate is, regardless of what the state law is, regardless of what the levy is, we've got to be able to have a funding source to be able to replace fire engines. We have to. And the best option on the table right now is the one that creates the levy. A lease, like I said, it's lower cost to close, pretty straightforward process, but you have to take it out of existing budget resources.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Adam.
So to your Council President, I would say the risk on the finance side, I would say, is very low. The uncertainty is high, and that's the world we live in, unfortunately, right now.
Thank you, sir.
Any issues with quotes?
I think on the fire apparatus, that will probably fall under a special opportunity exception to the bidding requirements. As to the other vehicles, I don't see where that would fall under any special, exceptions to the bidding requirements, and so I don't know what you have done in terms of bidding and that sort of thing.
We haven't bidded them out yet. We simply called Kelly Shipwood.
Yeah, so
outfits or all the other fire
we would. I am thinking that there's either 50,000 or 100,000 that you can authorize just going out on the open market and doing it without bidding, and possibly that might fit into that, but I'd want to double check that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I think tonight, what he's wanting is to say yay or nay to the contract.
If it would be the will of council, we would at least like to be able to lock this.
Lock the fire truck only, right?
To lock the fire truck only. If you would like, if Chief Funkhauser has expressed that you would like him to bring the staff cars back in May, he is more than happy to do that.
Okay.
That is not as big.
Yeah, because he said CCD funds.
He did discuss that we have money in CCD, we could take our staff cars out of CCD. I know we could bond up to 2.5, I think ultimately we were only gonna ask for 1.2, but again, he's more than willing to take that out of CCD if you would prefer that. And again, to build off what Adam said, I mean, it is, a custom truck is 3 to 5. This is 100 days with all the options that we have changed, that we would like to make changes to. And even the truck and all the equipment, we're under $1 million, which is basically the base price of what custom would be. So we're coming in.
What is the warranty on a fire truck? I'm just
Typically-
curious.
Typically, it is 1 year from when you take it.
And then that's transmission, or do they'll have to send it back to probably Cummins or something, and they'll do the chassis, the manufacturer do the pumps and stuff, correct?
Ask me that one more time.
Normally, when you get a chassis,
Yes, sir.
the manufacturer of the chassis does all the warranty on that part.
Correct.
Then when you do the pumps and stuff, another manufacturer put it all together, does that warranty. I was assuming it'd probably be like that.
Correct, and then the transmission and the engine have it's a mileage warranty, not a time warranty. So I don't specifically have that warranty with me, but it all comes with it. Yes.
Sir, one last question. So, circling back, going back to the preventive maintenance program that you may or may not have, I mean, can you assure the council that that will be developed
Yes, sir.
going forward, especially for if potentially $800,000, $900,000? I mean, it concerns me that we don't have that formally kind of like in place. I think that's important.
Going forward, we will work with Slim to build that preventative maintenance program. And if it's something with our truck that the town specifically cannot handle, we will outsource it. There are places, I mean, we've done it. When Vince, when he was here, when he was too busy to do things, we outsourced them. And there are specific things on our trucks that have to be done by outside sources, or EVTs. So I assure you that Chief Funkhauser and I will work towards that edge, or towards that end, to make sure that we take good care of this new apparatus. And I want to assure you, we have taken good care of the apparatus that we have. They're just old. We have 2 of the oldest engines in the county. Every engine that is not ours is 10 to 15 years newer, if not brand new. So it's not for lack of care. It's age, it's run volume. 5 years ago, our run volume was about 750 runs a year. Last year was 1480. We have had a 100% increase in 5 years in run volume. So now that's not all Whiteland. That's
Right.
mutual aid. That's the county as a whole.
Right.
But we serve the whole county. Our trucks say Whiteland, but we have mutual aid agreements through the whole county. So I do want to assure the council we will put a preventative maintenance plan in place. And I promise you, our trucks are not broken because we don't care. It's simply because they are old and they have been ran hard and they have done good things. It's just time to start swapping them out. And we will get you extra time out of our current primary engine. We were gonna look at some money to refurb it and to get it back in more of a pristine condition to be able to assure that. And we can get money for engine 72 and rescue 71. I did get a couple of estimates, and they're just rough dollar figures. I talked with a company called Brindley Mountain, which is what Carmen discussed today. Since you approved the disposal, what we'll do now is we've already been in talks with a broker firm out in Alabama. They have told us, based off of what we have filled out on the forms that they send, we just have to send them some pictures. The engine 72 is worth about 40 to 50,000 from their company. And our old heavy rescue, we can get anywhere between 35 and 50,000 out of that. So we will be able to recoup some of those costs for those vehicles as well. I will work with Chief to determine what we can do with our Durango and.
We need to get them fixed.
If we figure it out.
Right, but we need to get them fixed or we're not gonna get top dollar out of
I
it.
don't disagree.
I mean,
I just
and
don't know
that's,
personally what some of those issues are, short of like on my vehicle specifically, short of ripping all the emergency electronics out of it due to how it was wired when it was bought back in 2014. I don't know that you're gonna fix it, because there's just constant power in the car all the time. That's why it dies every 24 hours if you don't start. So, but we will work towards that goal. And again, Chief Funkhauser, if it's the council's will that you'll at least approve us to lock down the engine tonight so that we can secure it and work towards getting it taken care of. We'll absolutely bring the staff cars back at a later date and talk about CCD funds or other options. The Chief Funkhauser is 100% on board.
So do I have a motion to lock down the fire truck?
And if you were gonna make that motion, I would include some sort of a, I guess, condition upon the agreement being reviewed by attorney.
If
Right.
if the contract would be approved by council as well.
I have to say, going into this, I didn't have nearly enough information to make a decision. But I do trust the people that I've heard from. And I do, the geo bond financing was an avenue to pay for it that I'd never considered. I'll move to authorize locking it in, the contract, subject to review and approval by legal counsel.
that would just be the fire truck only.
Fire truck only, correct.
Fire truck only.
Looks like a Spencer pumper, stock build 1660 reference, and the, materials provided.
Fire and hoses.
And then we decide what kind of financing they do after the fact, or is that a later time?
Well, I think technically the fire district bonds it, so I'm not absolutely certain that that's due.
Well, I mean, we control that area, so in terms of, bonding aspect of it, it probably would be good to just make sure it's understood at minimum that the agreement to purchase it would be, conditioned upon satisfactory financing being, secured.
And I would add that to my motion.
Yeah, Adam will work it out so that it won't go over.
Yeah, I'll run some options on terms, with different rate options we can see. Where we'll have to try to estimate is what that 2026 net assessed value will be, and we'll provide some options to rate that out. And then to the council's perspective, I'll just couch it as in addition to subject to legal review, subject to financing.
Because the 2020,
It's in the very back.
2025 net assessed value for special fire protection is up to 417,000. I mean, that alone is a lot more. Huh? I mean, million, sorry, 417 million. That alone is up like 200 million from 2021.
Yeah, our AV has run our levy.
So I mean, as a previous clerk treasurer and doing a geo bond for the town, I don't have a problem with the geo bond at all. I know how it operates. I know they work at the numbers to get to be where you want it to be. And so I don't have a problem with it at all. And I'm a tightwad.
I think the biggest thing is I'm gonna work with you all on that latter timing too. That's gonna be pretty key to this is.
Right.
One of the options, I definitely would recommend looking at the numbers so that you can sort of waterfall that to where it takes care of both of those.
Right. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Brad seconds. Roll call, please.
Tim Brown? Yes. Brad Joe Decker? Yes. Deborah Henderson?
Yes.
Joe Taylor?
Yes.
Richard Hill?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, any council comments? Public comments?
Tyler Croy, 662 Woodview. I'm speaking, if I may, speak on behalf as a citizen as well as an employee. I had a whole packet I was gonna present, but as this meeting went on, I realized this town is so much more better than what was been put on display tonight.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna reach out to the people that I need to. And I think Tim hit it right on the head. It's time to start getting along. It's time to start communicating with one another and keep moving. I mean, I know it's not our quote anymore, but keep progressing forward to the Whiteland I know and grew up in all 33 years of my life. I haven't lived anywhere else. Well, New Whiteland, don't hold it against me.
I did too.
But it's time to bury it and move on. And I had a whole thing, but as time went on, I realized that this town is so much more better than that. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
I'd like to say one thing to everybody.
Council comments are repassed.
Yeah, it's all right. You got jumped ahead. I'd like to let everybody know that I know for sure that everybody sitting up here appreciates the fire, appreciates the police, appreciates the director, the development director of operations, administration. We all appreciate you. But I hope you guys realize that our job up here is just as hard and difficult because we are dealing with townspeople. People call us, they don't call you to complain, they call us. So we have to address that in that manner. We are trying to do the best that we can with the best things that we got. We always put your guys' safety, I know I do, as number one. I always put the workers as number one. I'm a firm believer and that's what keeps our community going, is the people that work here. But we also have a duty to take care of the town citizens. But on behalf of me, and I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody, we do appreciate everything that you guys do. But it's time that we need to all just regroup and make Whiteland together. And work together on both sides. That's fire, police, and the town too. And get this figured out. Okay. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Adjourned.
I can't take it. I'm over it. I'm just.